reach the top, I'ma scream thunder rock. They say a nigga hot, they say I won't stop. And when I reach the top, I'ma scream thunder rock. They say a nigga hot, they say I won't stop. And when I reach the top, I'ma scream thunder rock. They say a nigga hot, they say I won't stop. And when I reach the top, I'ma scream thunder rock. African dashiki, uncle around my neck, got his ISIS tatted on my belly, all about respect. I do it for the cause, I live for my queens, all my niggas kings, captain of my team. Life is just a dream, life ain't what it seems. You're just a player in the game if you don't own the league. Hop on the magic carpet, fly with me to a whole new world that they call Elm Street. Stay away from haters, stay away from busters, because in Never Land ain't no room for these suckers. Stay away from haters, stay away from busters, because in Never Land ain't no room for these suckers. They say a nigga hot, they say I won't stop. And when I reach the top, I'ma scream thunder rock. They say a nigga hot, they say I won't stop. And when I reach the top, I'ma scream thunder rock. They say a nigga hot, they say I won't stop. And when I reach the top, I'ma scream thunder rock. They say a nigga hot, they say I won't stop. And when I reach the top, I'ma scream thunder rock.
Oh my dear Mr. Williams. Information is power. If you don't have the information, one cannot seize power. You need to think about becoming mentally competitive. Being black does not free you from being a responsible individual.
Riverside, the turf, we in another zone. So futuristic, welcome to the Thunderdome. Posted in the hood, the homie got the chrome. And if you niggas tripping, silver bullets getting blown. Chicken with real killers that'll kill you at your home. And if you niggas tripping, your body hitting the flow. Fuck the police is the code that I live by. Kill a pig, cook the swine, fuck the cop, I hope they die. Black man in America, I'm not opposed to shine. Living in this white man's world is a waste of time.
Black man in America, I'm not opposed to shine. Living in this white man's world is a waste of time.
They say a nigga hot, they say I won't stop. And when I reach the top, I'ma scream thunder rock. They say a nigga hot, they say I won't stop. And when I reach the top, I'ma scream thunder rock. They say a nigga hot, they say I won't stop. And when I reach the top, I'ma scream thunder rock. They say a nigga hot, they say I won't stop. And when I reach the top, I'ma scream thunder rock. Thunder rock, thunder rock, thunder rock.
The Inland Empire wasn't built on solid ground. In the winter of 1862, California faced non-stop storms for nearly 45 days. The Santa Ana River swelled until it broke free, turning San Bernardino Valley into a temporary sea. Have you heard of the flood that changed California? One of the hardest-hit places was Agua, Mansa, a thriving Mexican town on the riverbanks near today's Colton and Riverside. Its name meant gentle water. But the water was anything but gentle. Vineyards, orchards, and adobe homes washed away. By the time the river receded, Agua Mansa had vanished. Across the Inland Empire, the story repeated. Adobe homes collapsed, herds were lost, and fields disappeared. Areas that are now Colton, Riverside, San Bernardino, and Jurupa Valley sat underwater. Mexican ranchos that had already struggled under U.S. courts and the Land Act of 1851 were wiped out. Families who had survived war and dispossession now had nothing left. Then came the outsiders. Anglo settlers bought up the ruined lands for pennies. From the wreckage, they planted citrus groves, creating the empire that would redefine Riverside and Redlands. The flood didn't just erase Mexican California, it paved the way for someone else's California. Today, almost nothing remains of Agua Mansa except its cemetery on Agua Mansa Road, and locals whisper it may be haunted, a lady in white, a man in the shadows. Maybe the town never left. Would you walk through Agua Mansa's cemetery at night? Why isn't this story taught in Inland Empire schools? And does California owe a debt to the families the flood erased?
In the winter of 1862, California faced a disaster that would change its landscape forever. Picture this: relentless rain pouring down for weeks, transforming rivers into raging torrents. The Great Flood of 1862 was no ordinary storm. It turned the Central Valley into a vast lake, submerging entire towns and displacing thousands. Imagine the chaos: families scrambling for safety, livestock swept away, and crops destroyed. The mighty Sacramento River overflowed, its banks unable to contain the deluge. As the floodwaters rose, people formed makeshift rafts, desperately navigating the flooded streets, searching for higher ground. But amidst this devastation, there was resilience. Communities banded together, showing incredible strength and determination. The flood reshaped not just the land, but the spirit of the people. Today, remnants of that disaster can still be seen in California's geography. The Great Flood of 1862 was a turning point, a tragic yet transformative chapter in the Golden State's history.
Peace and love. Peace to the ancestors. Dr. Jason E. Williams, EDD, Doctor of Education, here at the historical Agua Mansa Cemetery. Agua, water, peaceful waters, but also Mansa, Musa, gold, deals with gold. Because we also have to remember that when we speak of the Mali king, Moorish king, which all of us are, we dealt with gold. We traveled with gold. Do not allow them to teach you and make you believe that it was only one of us Moors or Moors traveling with gold and traveling with knowledge. The gold rush happened in the Americas, and not just in San Francisco, California, but also in the Inland Empire. When we speak of the Spanish Trail, the Spanish Gold Trail, let's say it for what it is. It's the Moorish Gold Trail, to when Europeans came and sacked our Moorish gold. This is why the Inland Empire, we find ancient Moorish castles and ancient Moorish structures, because also we would call this ancient Mexico. And as we know, the original old Mexicans are called the Olmeca or Old Mec. And there is a Mecca, California, in Riverside County. Therefore, Old Mecca and the Old Mecs are dark-skinned, woolly-haired people who we call Moors, taking us to Agua Mansa Cemetery, where our ancestors are buried. This historical site marks the resting place of the pioneers of the Agua Mansa area, which was started about 1840. The preservation of this cemetery began in 1951. This plaque, placed by Herupa, Herupa is Heru, remember J? Vowels are interchangeable, Herupa, Heru. So that means that Heru, a temple dedicated to Heru, or Horus, the sun god and deity of Ra, the son of Ra, the son of God, where you get Yahshua, Jesus, same story of the sun, personally, physically, and spiritually, as we see in the sky. This plaque was placed by Herupa Parlor, number 296, Native Daughters of the Golden West. Ooh, we're talking about secret societies now. Learn about the Golden West, June 11, 1961. So here we go. We're going to go over here real quick. Dr. Jason E. Williams. Peace to our ancestors, because the ancestors are our answers to all your questions and all your problems. So right here, welcome, Buenos Vendidos, Agua Mansa Pioneer Cemetery. Our gentle water is one of the last remaining pieces of paradise of the past. The terrain once offered a variety of resources and strategic advantages for the people living here. And they were not pale-skinned Europeans, indigenous people, Moorish people, American Indian people. To the Yuha Viatam, and then we see you, YU, which we can turn to Yah. And we know when anytime we hear the word Yah, that can go into Hebrew, that can go into Sanskrit, and it'll take you to Jah or Ra. And Ra is the science of the sun. So right here in this name of the people, we find Ra. And so Atam at the end, A-T-A-M. A-T-A-M is the god, a deity of Egypt, ancient Kemet. So right here, through etymology and education, we can prove that these people had knowledge of the stars, had knowledge of the planets, and that means organization. That means food, that means crop, that means culture. So the Ella. So once again, we find ancient Kemetic Moorish names in these Native American and the Tungova of the Santa Ana River. And once again, the Santa Ana. So Anu, Anna, Anta, Sa, which is the Son of God. So anytime you see SA, that refers to you as Muurs and Moors having a curriculum. So when they name something Sa or Santa, they're not talking about Santa Claus, okay? Offered both resources. So that meant that there were civilizations living on the Santa Ana River, which why when the Europeans came, they dammed up our water sources to stop us from having free food. That's how they control you through your belly. War tactics. The Santa Ana River offered both resources and connections to tribes along its banks, creating river communities that were multi-ethnic and multilingual. So it's over with the black and Mexican beef. It's over. Stop it. Right here, multi-ethnic and multilingual people. That meant that we were all getting along. Of course, there's quarrels, but we're brothers and sisters, and this cemetery represents our ancestors. There's no such thing as black and brown. We come from cultures, nationalities, tribes, nations. Agua, Mansa, and La Placita, and much love if I'm mispronouncing these words. This is a freestyle. I've never seen this before in my life. And they were just across from each other along the banks of the Santa Ana River. So Agua, Mansa, and La Placita were among the largest settlements between New Mexico and Los Angeles during the 1840s. This is when the Moors and Moors, so-called black people, were still here on the West Coast ruling. Study Queen Califia. And they were just across from each other along the banks of the Santa Ana River. These communities were the first non-native settlements in San Bernardino Valley, and they featured Region's first church. So, hold up. So now we're talking about in the 1840s. I should have brought out my book. This is when we talk about genocide. This is when you need to learn about the Indian Wars. How when the Europeans came, they poisoned us with smallpox, bubonic plagues. They tore down our towns. They created floods to destroy and bury our cities. So today, the Agua Mansa Pioneer Cemetery is one of the first remnants that still exists of a once thriving community, and its last burial occurred in 1963. So right here, you see a picture that looks like a little black boy, a little Moor right there. But those churches are made of wood. That's new. But when you go throughout Riverside County, San Bernardino County, and the Inland Empire, you find stone structures. You find castles who were not built by the Mongolians and Asians and Native Americans. They were built by Moors and Moors, dark-skinned, woolly-haired people, the original people of Mexico. So here we are at one of the reminiscence of our ancestors of antiquity and today. You see that ancient symbol right there, the North Star, the East, the West, the South. We have to learn to decode our ancient glyphs. We have to return, or actually, it's time to move forward into the future. Everything here is right in front of us. Our answers are our ancestors, which is our culture, which is a worldwide intergalactic education system. And right here is a beautiful scenery of what the mountains look like. And remember, they just told you that water ran through here, rivers, and Moors traveled the 7 seas and went all through the riversides, creating communities. So that meant that the Moors were able to travel through the Pacific Ocean And all throughout California and Southern California, this is why they created dams. And if you travel to cemeteries, we're going to see if we find any Moorish-like monuments here. Dr. Jason E. Williams, peace. Dr. Jason E. Williams, ED. Peace and love. Dr. Jason E. Williams, EDD, Doctor of Education here at the Agua Mansa Museum in Colton, California. This is evidence of a Moorish civilization. Let me show you real quick as I take you through. Come here real quick, please. As I walk you through a quick. You see this, y'all? You see the Europeans here. You see certain, look at this car, 1915. Where did they get that from? They got that from us as Moors and Moors who were already here. These are invaders. So right here in the 1840s, a group of settlers traveled along what is now called the Old Spanish Trail. Who are the original people who taught the Europeans knowledge and science? The Moors. So that's called the Old Moorish Trail. I'm gonna show you proof. But here, they talk about the cemetery in 1852. So they just got here in the mid 1800s. But let me show you this. Look at this Moorish castle. 1900s. This means that those buildings were already there. The settlers from Europe and the East Coast did not build these buildings. And what you would call the Native Americans who come from Mongolia, who are Asians, did not build this. This is why when you look at the top of this building, it looks Russian, because the original people and nobility of Europe are Moors. So when we talk about the Russians coming to Colton, those are Moors and Moors and their Slavic indentured servants, which the word slave comes from. So right here we see the Moorish red brick, and you see these buildings in the late 1800s that were converted to the Colton Grain and Mining Corporation, 1890. Once again, you see dirt roads, and you see them trying to wipe out and refurbish the pictures because they have the technology to doctor the photos to erase us as Moors, as the original inhabitants of the Inland Empire. And right here, Hotel Colton, 1900s. They did not have the technology back then to build such buildings. This is why they do not build those buildings today. Once again, you can go to Lake Elsinore in Temecula, and Lake Elsinore, you'll find similar buildings just like that. So all around the world, you'll see similar structures. And how do we know that the Europeans and those who are claiming Agua Mansa as settlers did not build these buildings? Because look at the dirt roads downtown. Those are dirt roads. So you guys were, and look at the horse and buggies. Look at the horse and buggies. So you see the horse and buggies right here. So in the 1900s, they're showing you that the Europeans did not have the technology to build these structures that today are no longer visible in the city of Colton. Look at the destruction here. So they're showing you in the 1900s a cement quarry. So they're blowing up our ancient pyramids, our ancient temples, our ancient mounds. They're covering up our old railroad tracks in the 1890s. So once again, these are also can be doctor photos. And look at his hand. Look at it. Look at his hand. Look at the symbol of his hand. I want everybody to learn about photos being doctored. So right here, oh. Okay. 1860. So the flood and mud in January 1862, the mud flood in January of 1862, the Santa Ana River flooded, destroying the community of Agua Mansa and much of La Placita. The cemetery, the chapel, the foothill below the cemetery and nearby. So right here, floodwaters covered the farmland and the settlers close to the river with silt and debris making cultivation much difficult. Some residents rebuilt, but many reestablished their home in ranchers and other parts of communities of Colton, Riverside, and San Bernardino. So right here, once again, throughout America, we find floods, purpose floods of our Moorish communities. We're gonna do more trips here of Agua Mansa Cemetery as we go, because we came here late. And these, look at the families. Do they look indigenous to you? No. But they definitely don't look modern European either. They look more gypsy. Interesting. And they have curly hair, so those can be mixed Moorish women. They look Jewish. But look at here, Peter C. Peters, that's a brother. Look at, he's mixed. He's mixed. Albinos. So remember the time. Here we are, beautiful Agua Mansa. Historical site. So we'll give you a little brief run through too. Look at here. Whoa, kind of scary, right? So this is the image above. So by the time the mission system collapsed in California, many of the native communities from the region were killed or displaced. Most of their land had been divided up by settlers and rancheros in the 1830s. Whoa. So those buildings that I just showed you were here. We're going to get more into more extensive knowledge of Agua Mansa. She looks mixed. Look at her hair compared. So that's a settler mixing in, even though his hand looks different. But look at her hair texture and look at her nose compared to his nose. Does she look happy? She looks like a Moor, possibly a mixed Moor and a colonizer killing her father or grandfather to steal the land. We're going to talk about it. So, once again, learn your history, learn your knowledge of the old Moorish trail leading us home to freedom. Look at that pyramid in the background. So your history is all here, and then they build up over there. There's a blown up pyramid way back there, and then 1862, a great flood destroyed much of Placita and Agua Mansa, but as fate allowed, the church near, come on, we're gonna talk about it. Once again, mud floods destroying Moorish towns throughout America. Dr. Jason E. Williams, the Matrix University. This was a freestyle, never been here. But possibly I have in my past life. But look at that as we end it. All in front of you. All aboard! It is time to hop aboard my spaceship, because you are now tuned into what is the Matrix TV. I'm your host, Dr. Jason E. Williams, Doctor of Education, EDD. And once again, tonight, this infinite teaching is about the founding of California through genocide of Muurs, Moors, aka Black Indians, and Native Americans. So just like everything on the planet, we must start with the founder of the humans, the so-called Moorish woman. So right here, as we start, we see first, as we spoke of Mansa Cemetery, let's give a shout out to all of our ancestors, all of our answers. To the left, the oldest living survivor of Tulsa race war has died at the age of 111 years old, 111 years old. So right here is a perfect example of a legacy of us as Muurs, Moors, indigenous people to the planet, but in particularly the Americas. So right here, when we learn about the founding of California, it makes sense that we bring this up, this book, The Incredible Story of the Founding of California by Genocide on its Native People. And that's throughout the Americas. Us as Muurs and Moors being murdered. That's where probably the word murder comes from, murder to Moor. You know, just like when they say good morning, to mourn is celebration of the supposed fall of the Muurs and Moors. So when we as indigenous people, a lot of our traditions are oral traditions, griots, shamans, oral tradition. And so the greatest archive we have are our elders, our elves, our elders. There are living archives. This is why it's imperative for us to start knowing that the celebrities you see on TV aren't to be documented. It's the Moorish women all throughout the Americas and all throughout the planet who we need to start recording. Women such as my mother, your mother watching the TV. Your mother has a story. Your grandmother has a story. Like we always teach, if you ask your grandmother or great grandmother, where do we come from? She's gonna say we're Indian. There's nobody's great grandmother or grandmother from my age group who's gonna say that we came from Africa. That was taught by the colonizer in the school system to erase your memory as the owners of planet Earth, but in particularly the owners of America, America. And so the word Mayan comes from Mayat because the colonizer can't say Mayat, he said Mayan. So Mayan is a Mason, the son of a Mason, son of a Mayan, Jason. And so Mayat, M-A-A-T and M-A-Y-A-N is an education system. Principalities, a culture, a way of thinking, a way of being, a way of life. So right here, we see evidence still of the Tulsa race war massacre that took place in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is the same exact thing that happened in California and all throughout the Americas not too long ago. So as we use this book, the Indian Removal Act of 1830, in the 1823 case of John versus McIntosh, the United States Supreme Court handed down a decision stating that Indians could occupy and control lands within the United States, but could not hold title to those lands. As Jackson saw it, either Indians compromised sovereign states which violated the Constitution, or they were subject to the laws of existing states of the Union. Either way, natives lost. Jackson urged Indians to assimilate and obey state laws. Further, he believed that he could only accommodate their desire for Indian self-rule in federal territories, which required resettlement west of the Mississippi River on federal lands. The Indian Removal Act was signed into law May 28, 1830 by United States President Andrew Jackson.
Native American tribes for their removal to federal territory west of the Mississippi River in exchange for white settlement of their ancestral lands. So right here, you see in the 1800s, 1830s, they were signing acts and using violence, like we learned in the dissertation of the Seminole Wars, America's longest conflict. These are in the 1800s, 1900s. You know, I want to pull out a date for you guys to learn about the Florida Indians. I didn't want to get off topic, but I wanted to just marquee certain dates for you guys. But long story short, it was a genocide. And right here to the right, we see Queen Khalifa or Queen Khalifa. And so that's a title, just like Pharaoh or Amen or President, Mayor. There's multiple mayors. So just like when a Christian, they say in Jesus' name we pray, Amen, or we pray to Amen. If they were to put Amen Ra at the end, that takes us forward into the future and the past to retrieve information of our culture. Because Amen is a title. Amenhotep is a title. Imhotep is a title. Tahuti is a title. So Mayan is an education system, a culture, a title, a description. And so when we say ma or moo, and what animal in the Matrix says moo, and that vibration goes moo. Waters is Hathor, the cow deity, and we know that the magic mushroom comes up out of the cow deity. Let me get some of this mountain valley spring water as they cut off our dams and natural spring water. So clearly, I'm sure it wasn't bottled up like we did. So they also came to the Americas to heal themselves. They came to California to heal themselves in our waters. Because when we study El Kemet, this book that I'm still reading right here, the Temple of Abydos, how thick this is, right here, the Temple of Abydos also dealt with water machines, to where we purify water using sound technology, and when you would drink it, it would heal you, kill all what they call diseases or viruses, but the elixir of life. Like Richard Pryor, everyone type in Richard Pryor Egypt scene with Robin Williams, and it shows Richard Pryor drinking the elixir of life, and they were in an Egyptian tomb, or it was an Egyptian tomb. But remember, El Kemet, the education system of what they call Egypt, people of the burnt faces, is an intergalactic international education system. It's a curriculum. It's a curriculum. And so to the right, when we see a Khalifa, and that's Empress, we got to remember Queen is like one of your side pieces, you know, as a Mer or more, or as a king or emperor. One of your women who you put into power, but not your empress, but still authority. So we'll say Empress Khalifa. And even if you go to back in the day, they had a experience called Golden Dreams. And Golden Dreams was in California Adventure in Disneyland. In California Adventure, which is a part of Disneyland in California. Excuse me. Excuse me, y'all. My bad. It was an experience in California, California Adventure, and it showed you that in Golden Dreams that Queen Khalifa or Queen Califia was the spirit of California, and she was already here, and she already had a culture.
They didn't show it. It allowed you to study it, and it showed you how they came into the land. A great book as we start the episode is Queen Califia in the island of California. She ruled in paradise. And you see the Great Seal, the original seal of California. Great read. And then the island of California. Let me closen it up. Until the great floods of the early 1800s, this is what California looked like. M-A-R, Muur. So we could Muur our way from the Pacific Ocean into what is now northern to central California. And that's the Inland Empire for us. So that's why you find castles all throughout Southern or California, but we're speaking of Southern California, the Inland Empire. Look. And then it would come out of the Gulf. So right there is the evidence, us as the old Mexicans, the original Mexicans, in Mecca, California is in Riverside County, because the word Mecca is a place of festivities and major gatherings, just like Jerusalem, which means Jerusalem. So Jerusalem can be practiced anywhere. Jerusalem can be anywhere when you set up the shrine to the sun, because it's science of the sun, S-U-N, the sun in the sky. And so we built monuments off of the planets, star systems, what you today call gods, because the planetary bodies are celestial bodies, deities, living entities, are a projection of you as Ra. So once again, they dehydrate us as aquatic beings. It was more water here, throughout around us. So before the colonizers came here, imagine what California looked like before they cut down the redwoods. Imagine the rivers that ran through our cities, and free food, free energy, free life, culture. Wherever there's water flowing, there's animals, there's fruits, there's crops, there's vegetables. So we have books that we can go to, and then we can link up the lost CHAM. We're going to link up the Chinese presence in Southern California, in particularly Riverside, a Chinese settlement in California prior to the Slavics coming, the pale skin Europeans coming. CHAM is CAM or ham. Take off the C, that's ham. So they put it in your biblical. So ham, cam, cham, kim, Kemites. It's an education system. You can break the curse through etymology. It's a spell. That's why when you write things down, it's spelling. You have been put a curse over your mind. They didn't steal the land. You can't steal the land. They stole your mind, colonized our minds, and colonized the land. But the curse is broken. Jason is here. July, August, September, October, November. So right here, when we start diving in to us as Mayans, or Mayatans, we have a science. That's why they show you the cocaine mummies. Cocaine, corn, comes from the Americas. Quetzalcoatl, America, Amaruca. So right here we pay homage to the Moorish woman who gives life to all civilization. And we find that through etymology in the Americas, because California is Indian land.
Southern California is Indian land. Inland Empire is Indian land. Therefore, it is Moorish El Morocco. This is our land. We own Riverside. We own San Bernardino by law and by birthright as descendants of the Moorish Empire El Morocco, Morocco. Descendants of Mu, matter, electricity, atoms, photons, neurons, electrons, light that stems from darkness. The triple black or the double black, the chief like Robert Parrish, the Celtic great, the original leprechaun, the original Twa, the original pygmy. We are here. We never left. Look at her nose. We are the phenotype. So right here, we're at Sherman Indian. These are the mixed children when the Slavic indentured servants were brought by either Moors from Europe or invaded the lands, let out of penal colonies, raping the Chinese who were already here, creating your modern day Native American who originally comes from Mongolia, and then you have Chinese here, so you have an Asian presence. And then when the Spanish and Europeans brought the Filipinos and Asians, which you call Chinos or Chinks, mixing in and giving them our land. So when we go to the Sherman Indian School in Riverside, California, these are the children of those who were massacred and raped by European colonizers as a buffer to steal your mind, but really land, your wealth, your inheritance, the structures that are already built all over the Americas, and particularly the Inland Empire. Sherman Indian School, Cemetery, Riverside, because they would bury and torture our Native American brothers and sisters as well. Because these are children. This is why they showed you them living in teepees, because they're not the builders of the masonry, mathematics, the double zero, the double helix, the tetragrammaton, a tone, once again, El Kemet. So Sherman Indian School was given to the children of the massacre of the European colonizers who either enslaved Asians in internment camps or made a deal with them to be a buffer, as mixed children down south were used as a buffer. So they're Sherman's Indians. They're not Indians, they're Native Americans. So that's why they're called Sherman Indian, because they belong to someone. It's a treaty broken. Right here in Riverside, this is an opera house that was burnt down. Look at that. They didn't build that. That's in Riverside, California, y'all. Because we are the original opera singers. We are the original Beethovens. More arts. The Moors arts. Mozart. Mozart is a Moor. Hello. We use classical music in attempts to tame the savage beast and encode it in their DNA using the violin. That's why they show you the vampires always playing with the violins, strings, organs, but in particularly string instruments,
harps and opera. They use opera to put y'all to sleep. Opera. Her convincing you to want to be like them. And then they burnt it down to hide the evidence that you were already here in the Matrix. You never left. You are an immortal, infinite being. This is your spacesuit. You never die. And that's why your education system is immortal, using sacred geometry clues that you left behind. Because in order to propel yourself in the future, you travel back to the future by traveling back in time in your mind and the physical masonry we left. Because the present is the gift. The gift of life is the present. So therefore, we propel ourselves into the future with our culture. And right here, you see not only Moorish culture, but Roman culture. Etruscans, we'll take it to USC, because the original Romans are Moors, Moors. Etruscans, so we were out here because the Santa Ana River and Colorado River ran through the Inland Empire. This is Sherman Indian School in Riverside, California, y'all. The Native Americans didn't build that. And so you see them, they're being taught to be Native Americans and then Indians, to steal your identity on paper. Because if we were to put the Native Americans up against us in basketball, football, soccer, baseball, track and field, innovation, inventions, they cannot compete. This is why they have alcoholism on the Indian reservations today, because they are not those people. Or they will be dominating through the wealth and economic gain that the Native Americans have been receiving for decades. Where are the innovations? They only have casinos, and they bring in Moors, Muurs, and Black Indians to perform, and they do not give back to their brothers and sisters who gave them their culture. That's why Native Americans only do one dance. They're not the original people. The land doesn't connect to them, and they burn under the sun. The Sherman Indian School belongs to us as descendants of El Morocco. That is your restoration. It's the land, not money. Money is nothing. Your wealth lies through your birthright as Moors and Moors, and as an indigenous, autonomous people. So right here, you see the Public Library of Colton, California, the first city of the Inland Empire where the railroads crossed. So look, you see, once again, Roman Moorish architecture. And so you'll find the court buildings, the libraries, your jails, your prisons, your city halls, all converted, usually your downtown, to those buildings that were once ours before they flooded our towns strategically by redirecting dams and stealing our Moorish technology. So to the right, off of A Street and La Cadena, look at this Moorish building in the 1800s. So they tore these buildings down in the city of Colton and only keep a few for them to practice their secret society rituals of running the towns that they colonized, generation after generation, sending our children, which is ourselves, to the colonizer school to be reprogrammed. K through 12. K is the letter 11. Then 12 is simply reprogramming your mind to believe a fictitious lie, just like the churches. The churches program you to believe in a fictitious reality that never existed, only in the minds of the observers, which would be your grandma, your uncles and aunties. But if you never read the Bible, Quran, or Torah, and you're under the sun, you still can create an advanced civilization. I'm proof that you can do things without God. You can do things without Jesus. That's not my deity. So anyone telling you, oh, you can't do anything without God, you can't do anything without Jesus, that's a lie. Now, if you're talking about the centrifugal force of the universe, oh yeah. If you're talking about those who came before oh yeah. Those who on other higher realms who can create sacred geometry and send down messages, and you can write it down or it's already left for you, and you can manifest it through the ether, your organs, your heart, your brain, the pineal gland, the cells, the air, the ether, the wind, the geb, the neb, karu. Oh yeah, that's intelligence. The designer of a seed. Imagine how intelligent you have to be to put the sun in set motion, planets in orbit. That's supreme intelligence. That to I is true. Not through a word, but through witnessing the power of Ra. Cuckoo! Amun. So this is our education system right here. Looking at these buildings is food. You have to have crops to feed. We talk about the pineal gland, masonry, stone masonry. So that's math, that's geometry, that's calculus, arithmetic, algebra, jabari, ja, ba, ra. So the body of Ra, the body of Jah is you and I. And then we can bring it down and manifest it in an advanced way. What today they call heaven or Uranus on earth. That's fun. While others say, oh, they're fallen angels. And no, that's because they're not angels. They're not elves. They didn't create the days. They didn't create the moon, the months. So those are humans. Of course, they cannot get enough of sun's Ra's, what we call the sun's information. They have to be around us. So when you hear people trying to demonize our culture by calling us fallen angels, fallen elves, well, we've fallen into matter. Whether it's a lesson, some of us here are on a rescue to get others, remind them and get out. Some of us are locked up here in prison, to never get out. This is an insane asylum. It's all multiple facets of this multiplayer game. A prison locked down for light to get trapped here, and then make you forget that you're an infinite being while the humans went to war with you and rebelled, because a lot of them found out they were mad that we created them instead of, so and remember, clearly we know it. Imagine someone who's opposite of I, opposite of me, who's lived infinite lives and wants to be wicked. So, we got to look at that as well. So when we study Colton, California, in Colton, Aton, you find a tone in Kemet hidden in the etymology of the words, and that's how you break the curse that was put over your minds to free yourself and to free our people. And so right here, you see the Moorish. So San Bernardino, boom, 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 boom. What happened? What happened to beautiful San Bernardino? This is the courthouse of San Bernardino. Look at that, y'all. Same structures, same Moorish red brick that you find all throughout the Americas. Because it's the same architects, the same education system, same curriculum as Muurs and Moors. That's why they call us Mayates, because we're the Mayates, the Mayans, the Mayatans who practice Mayat. So right here, when we go to Agua Mansa Pioneer Cemetery, we still see structures buried underground because they purposely created mud floods. They buried our towns, and then they created a lot of dams over our pyramids, poisoned our waters, cut down our trees to make us shrink and look different. Our skin glowed different. Our hair grew different. Imagine all of the trees that were cut down. Imagine what it's like with rivers and the food and different vegetables and minerals that you had in your body 100 years ago, 200 years ago, or your other past life, because you've been here the whole time. A lot of you never left, and they got you trapped in this matrix hologram. So if you happen to so-called die, if you think you die, you get trapped here. If you die believing that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior and you're indigenous, you cannot cross over to the ancestors' realm. And so you're trapped here. And if you have to come back in the AI era, the robot era, it's going to be even more difficult to figure it out, because they're going to control even more what you're able to learn and know. A real prison, it is time to leave, escape the matrix. So we teach at the Matrix University because you're in a video game, so it's fun. You're in an advanced, they call it computer game of different realms, different dream worlds, different states of consciousness. That's why they call it the American dream. They would come here, infiltrate dimensions. They didn't have maps. They had to have a Moor. That's why every time Estevinco, the traveler, they said, oh, we had a slave tell us and talk to the Indian. How did a slave talk to the Indians and know where to go? You big dummies. They're liars. So this is who we are as a people. We are not gangsters. We are not thugs. We are not workers. We are engineers, pioneers, math, science. We are Masons, Mayans, Mayatans, El Khemet, alchemists, descendants of all. So we descended. So that's why they say we descended, he fell, falling. Yeah, you fell into matter and you got trapped, homie, you forgot. So it's time to leave. You can destabilize your atoms. They're about to teach you that they can change the death gene and that you're immortal. That's why the vampire movies talk about they burn in the sun, but they're trying to stand under the sun because there's a way for your gene to break the cell and be free as an immortal being here on what you call Earth, but it won't be called Earth. We'll change the name. So right here, the founder of Colton, California, never stood foot in Colton. And from my research, this is his mausoleum. They didn't build that, so imagine how low that this building goes, y'all. So I want everyone to go to the graveyards, every graveyard in America, in particularly the Inland Empire, Riverside. You'll find these Egyptian, Roman mausoleum type structures. Because we built those. They made graveyards out of our monuments. And then they also made it to where you naturally want to go to the buildings that they converted to City Hall, the courthouses, the prisons, the jails, the libraries, City Hall, all those buildings, they reversed it on you. So when you go in there, you feel an energy, but now you're afraid because you're like, damn, all I remember of feeling different is that they're locking me up or terrorizing me as an Indian. We're being terrorized by colonizers, and now they've colonized our people's minds to terrorize each other. so they can terraform your mind like they terraform the planet. Like terror. So I'm born on October 25th, and their fake god is born December 25th. We got Jesus and Jason. Jesus is fictitious. Jason is real. The scorpion, born on October 25th, versus Jesus, you know. So, Kot Atun, I see a tune, and look at them celebrating taking your land. Those aren't inventors. Those are, and look at them on horse and buggies. So this cemetery is all that remains of two communities called Agua, Mansa. And once again, Mansa Musa wasn't just in Africa. They're lying to you. That's basically them trying to cover up the fact that you as Moors and Moors went everywhere with gold and knowledge, seeds and fruit, vegetables, seeds. So if they can erase Mansa Musa being out here, because the Spanish trail simply means the Moorish trail. Just like the Silk Road in Asia, right? They found these routes, Magellan, all these liars. So what it is that they stole our maps. And so these world fairs and expositions, after they flooded our towns and created genocide, and the water settled and everyone was dead or enslaved or captured, put in internment camps or shipped all over, they had these expositions for the wealthy Europeans who were either indentured servants to still mix Moors, to hopefully hide it for us for when we wake up, or to secret societies of what you know as the troglodyte Slavic European Masons, who either are keeping the secret to hold it because other racist Slavics were going to destroy everything. So that's a War of the Roses too. That's another story. But Agua Mansa, so we call it the Great Flood of 1862. Look to the right, y'all. So Mansa Musa used the gold trail of the Moors, which he called the Spanish trail. So Mansa Musa, master of the Moorish traveler on land and sea, came here. Because you got to remember, they came to California to heal themselves through our waters and to find advanced technology and to ransack our treasures, not just gold. Because when you go to the LA Museum, you see that there's pyrite found out here in the Inland Empire, diamonds, lithium, all these precious minerals that they use today for their machines. So we can take over the robots. The robots is us, when properly programmed, are allowed to think and tell you. So they're going to bring in the robot of their father, who isn't in shape yet, and put it in the robot, the cyborgs. So here we are. So they flooded our towns and cities that connected through rivers and dammed them up, so that's why your downtown buildings always have large basements, because those buildings actually go higher than you think, but they created the cities on top of our structures to erase your memory, to wipe your memory. And so we look closer to these Indians, and I don't see any of these Indians now. It's almost as if they'd never existed, because the dark-skinned Indians that they showed us, there's the closest thing are our relatives who look like James Brown in them. These ones to the right, like Taboo, he's a Taboo for sure. I thought he was Asian. He says he's Native American. He looks mixed, but still. Look it to the left, a Blackfoot Indian. What's so interesting is that you racists prove our point. History repeats itself. You all are racist against dark-skinned, dark brown Indians, and you would like to place us in the wrong category to your liking. Same thing the colonizers did. Maybe it's in your blood. $5 Indians. And that's what the Indian Removal Act was. Right here, y'all. In this book, you can find it, and several others. Because look, because before it was Mexico, it was named something else as well. But you see the word chi, X-I in there. M-E-X-I. The chi, Olmeca, chi. So they murdered us because we were peaceful Indians. And so this book gets into the Olmecs and the pyramids of the Muur, the Muurs, M-U-R-S. Muur, descendants of Muur and and that takes us to Samaria, Sumer, Babylonian, and they always demonize Babylonian and Sumeria. And right here, Pope returning indigenous peoples from Canada. But look, so you got people in our community who still want to believe in God and Jesus and worship Yahweh, but yet want to be Indian indigenous. Unless it's Yahweh is or Yahweh, as you as a Muur or Moor crossing over with knowledge of a river, which is an action, and having the language of Sanskrit or Phoenician, which will take us to ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, which takes us to basically knowledge of the ancestors, sacred geometry, codes and Dinker codes of the matrix computer. So Hebrew is a derivative, a descendant of Phoenician, Sanskrit. It's so when people talk about Hebrew, yes, we are those people, but it's a language, but really it's an action. So look at James Brown. We, as you guys know, for those who aren't from our culture, I can grow an afro as long as this, and if I put a hot comb to it, it'll be pressed. If I put bear grease or grease and oil myself up, I'll look like that. And then the pictures, and remember the environment was different. Our skin was different. So a lot of the, and then look, when they call themselves Mohawks, they have to put gel in their hair. We are the natural people of the Mohawk. Excuse me for I'm getting stuff. So right here, you find us with the Mohawk. And here it says, I'm going to close up because my father is a Southern Jaguar. You know, we always went to the Bayou Classic up until, you know, he got his dementia. So long live my dad, Edwin Williams Jr., the King, Washita, Muurs, Letcher, Louisiana, baby, outside of New Orleans. My father, before we get into it, my father and my grandmother and great grandmother, they're from a town, and you know, a town called Letcher, Louisiana, and we would have bonfires that looked like pyramids, and it was literally on the banks of the Mississippi River, mounds. So I'm a descendant of the Washita Muurs, for real, Williams. And then our other cousins would be Washington, like Lionel Washington, the cornerback for the Redskins. That's my cousin. Kenda is what they would call it. So the Williams of Louisiana, we own America. Like those with the last name Williams, Washington, we are descendants of the empress. We are the owners of the land. And that's the whole point. Don't worry about the money. We need that. We understand that. We get it. But the land, once we understand the importance, that's when you can go to all throughout America and identify a Moorish castle, regardless if it's refurbished, and you claim it. And soon we'll have that, because it's all Indian land, you know. So right here in Riverside County, San Bernardino County, the Inland Empire, this is our land. And so when you see Native Americans allowed to get millions and millions of dollars and we're left out as indigenous people, that's the problem. And we are the solution. We just want our land so we can be innovative, grow our crops, practice our culture in peace and righteousness. And as usual, people will come, you know, but it's time to separate for our safety. So Jaguars, like I said, my father graduated from the SU, Southern University. So we're Jaguars. Jaguars presumed to command a level of power. So basically they said that us as Moors and Moors were able to shapeshift, able to destabilize our atoms and literally turn in and morph into animals, which we were able to do clearly. And the more we fell into matter, and the more the colonizers said, you can't do that, that's impossible, you believed it because of their religions like Christianity, Judaism, all stripping you of your true essence of sun people, creating your sundial. You are the sundial. And so, yes, you can change a tone, a frequency to morph into whatever you like. A cheetah, water, air, and people have done it. They're all around you. That's why you show everyone with love, because the dude who you might be mean to, a homeless person, might be an angel. And so what became of the black people of Sumer, or like I say, summer, hot, heat, Babylon, July, August, September, October, November, summer. So remember, the gods of Sumer or Samar are you. And so they just say Mesopotamia, but it's also Mesoamerica. The Sumer, the summer, the burnt place black people, the Phoenicians of the phonetics, the hooked on phonics, right? Of the Aleph, the alphabet, the Beth, La, Ham, who are descendants of Beth, you know, or Ruth. And so the woman, the Moorish woman, proves that we have an infinite culture even by studying Sumer, because we are the Sumerians. And so before integration, the black dollar would circulate up to 4 weeks in our community. That's up until 1954, Brown versus Board of Education, where we had our own cities and towns that were either burnt down, flooded, or genocide was occurred, murder, a race war. And you're over here thinking the people, they're not your real friends. If they're not telling you that you're the original people of the land, they're not your friend. So you got people who telling you they know your ignorance. They say, "Oh, do you believe in Jesus Christ? Is Jesus Christ your Lord and Savior?" Yes, yes. You think that they're buddies with you. No, they're like, this nigga's an idiot. I could use this fool and they're going to tell me everything. Because you love to run your mouth to the colonizer. People are like, that's what you doing, Jason. No, they already know this. I'm just telling you. And so right here, Herupa Mountains in the Inland Empire, Riverside County, San Bernardino County. Look to the top, y'all. Herupa, Heru's Mountains. They find what? Pyrite. They call it Pyrite Canyon, y'all. A treatment facility for pyrite. And then a pyrite quarry, and then a former Stringfellow waste disposal. Because they're destroying our nature. They're destroying our land. Because you want to be black. You want to be a nigger. You want to be African American. You want to be a Christian. You want to worship Jesus. You want to be everything but Heru. It's a science. It's an education system. It's a discipline. That's why they call martial arts a discipline. You have to be disciplined to be a doctor, a master of the arts, a Doctor Strange. Oh, he's strange. Yeah. I travel through dimensions. I am a time traveler. I am a jumper through realities. Attention deficit disorder. No, attention deficit hyper disorder is what they label me. Why? Because I can travel through dimensions since a kid. So while the normal kids are doing the work, I'm over here and over here. Jason, what are you doing? Oh, he was in outer space. He was dozing off. Did he finish his work? Yeah, he finished it first, but he started walking around. He was bored. Tried to demonize me and destroy my life with Ritalin. Connected my head and brain to computers called biofeedback. They had me playing Mario Brothers and at UCLA, they called it the Drake Institute, coincidentally. The Draconian Institute. Look it up. Everyone watching this, type in the Drake Institute, UCLA, biofeedback. That's what they were doing to me because I was so advanced. So when I would come back and tell kids, man, I'm playing video games with my brain, they're like, oh, he's crazy, he's lying. Over 30 years later, Elon Musk and these boys are coming out with the Neuralink. So they're basically gonna make it cool for people who are non-intelligent or not born a superhero or born a deity or a god or a mutant. They're gonna try to have the normal people who don't have what you call God's gift to think they have the ability of psychic telekinesis, or basically having a direct connection with the source, or what today you call God, because you are Allah, arm, leg, arm, and head. You are the temple of Allah. You are the temple of Solomon right here. So, you know, and right here, look at this, y'all. Look at this picture. What does it read? Riverside vintage postcard in a book that I found. Look closely. Remember when I showed you guys this? I showed you the island of California. Look it up, the island of California. Before the mud floods and the dams, this is what Riverside looked like. 1893. So right here, and then down, you see what Riverside looked like. I'm gonna close it up. Riverside County. So you had a huge river. It was waterfront property, beachfront property, right? Waterfront, riverfront. Look at the canals in Riverside, y'all. That's why you see all these castles. They blew up most of the castles. They dropped bombs. That's why they have March Air Force Base. Muurs Air Force Base, because that's why the Tuskegee Airmen were so good. We were already flying planes, y'all. How does a group of men who didn't know how to fly planes just all of a sudden do more than train pilots? We were training them just like everything else. We trained them how to walk. We trained them how to talk. We trained them to know what a day is. These are cave people. They have no connection to God or Ra or Amen or Allah. They have no connection to nature. They are fabricated beings. Frankenstein. And they're going to create their robots because their father is what you call the devil, Satan. So the mark of the beast is coming. Donald Trump is representative of the trumpets being blown for the extraterrestrials, Elon Musk, SpaceX, to do a Neuralink to where you have to take the microchip in your body, take the digital link. So people will say, oh, I'd rather not have a wallet. So they start with the digital wallet, the cryptocurrency, all to enslave humans, no matter what color you are, no matter what religion you are, no matter what your sexuality is. It does not matter. They look at you as matter, light, atoms, photons, and they know how to manipulate light by manipulating our ancient cities and grid lines to trap you in the hologram. When our cities were built to free you, to have free thinking and innovative thoughts, to create infinite things, and then we reset it. So yes, we reset the video game. And we allowed others to play by making them we gave them a body to participate. So look, This is the original Indian. Those other ones that they've been showing us that were red, they don't exist. I went to Colorado State. The dude above me, he was a 6'5", 6'7". I want to say, no, he was more than 6'5", 6'7", 6'8" Indian from Montana. He was light skinned though. He looked like my Mexican friends. Much love. But he was big. He was a giant Indian. But once again, he was like, it's, man, before I even knew, he's like, it's you guys. So right here, the Redskins, us as the Redskins. Why do you think Doug Williams, the original quarterback, black quarterback, to win the Super Bowl? Because they know, just like Shador, once you see a black quarterback and all that, it reminds you in your DNA who you are as a people. And that's what we did. We would compete against each other using ball games. Let me take a drink. So these Indians to the right, I'm gonna say didn't exist, bro. They're either have painted face on, and because where are they? Oh yeah, I had to show proof of the doctorate of education and organizational innovation. California great mud flood, but I think it's time for a commercial break. Let's see. Oh yeah, I wanted to show you guys this. Since we were talking about, you know, there's no $100 million, well, shouldn't say no, but for most brothers who graduate with the doctorate of education, EDD, or any doctorate, you know, the celebration should be beyond a brother who makes it to the NBA, beyond when a brother signs a record deal. Black men who get out of prison get more celebrated than brothers with a doctorate. Black men who sign a record deal to the devil and promote gangster rap get celebrated. Black men who come out of jail get celebrated. Gangsters get celebrated. Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and they give honorary doctorates to black celebrities, demeaning and diminishing the experience and the hard work for real Muurs and Moors and so-called black people who earned their doctorate. Ignorance is celebrated in the black community. It's cool to be a nigger. Okay to be a gangbanger, okay to be a thug, but the moment you become intelligent, they gave you Steve Urkel. My dad hated that show because he said, son, you don't have to act like that to be intelligent. You don't have to act like a nerd to be intelligent. He said, I don't ever want you to act like Steve Urkel. Because one day I wanted to wear my pants up high. He was so mad. He didn't like Family Matters at all, you know. So everybody watching this, you don't have to, let's make being a nerd, because even in the movie Nerds in college, the black guy was a homosexual. And I used to like that movie. What was his name? The gay black dude in the movie Nerds. You guys watching the show? Marvin or something. And my dad didn't like that, so it ruined my experience. Like, damn, if you're smart, you got to be gay or a nerd? No. That's why they got rid of Bill Cosby, not saying anything if what they said he did. I don't know if it's true, but he was an example with the Cosby Show, what my parents are, what I was raised to be, a doctor, not a basketball player, not an entertainer for the circus, like a monkey, a doctor. That's the aspiration for our community. not to be a singer, not to be an actor or a social media influencer. Doctors, teachers, lawyers, architects. And those are all educators, because that's our culture. We are innovators. We are math, science. We are geometry. Our body makes up geometry. The Ka, the Ba, the Ra. You are the temple of Ra. You should be thankful to have this experience. There's so many other entities out there that want to be you. That's why they try to tear you down, because they vampire, because they're afraid of who you are. You are descendants of the gods. You are the sciences. You are nature all in one. You're the cheetah, you're the rhino, you're the elephant, you're the water, you're the sun, you're the air, you're magnesium, you're copper, you are gold. All of the periodic table makes up you as an alchemist. In our netters, nature is a reflection to remind us that we are descendants, extraterrestrials, experiencing this dimension in this spacesuit. So we use our culture to not forget who we are and what we are and where we are as we ascend to the heavenly realm, which is your higher consciousness, spiritually, physically, and etherically, metaphysically, what they call the invisible realm or dark matter. So when they show you these pictures right here of the gold rush and the flood, this is a purposeful flood. Do not allow them to lie to you. They blew up our, they created dams. They redirected our rivers. Look at this is who invaded our land. They brought diseases. They murdered us. They brought smallpox. They raped our women. They murdered the shamans. They murdered the priests. They blew up our pyramids so we could not communicate worldwide, just like they're trying to do. They want you to have one language, one government, one rule, one God. We already had that. So these are the invaders of our Moorish gold. They came to steal our gold, our precious minerals in our mines. And look at our people today. We are suffering from a lack of knowledge of self. We are suffering because we don't have our land. Our lands have been taken over by illegal immigrants from Europe who brought their culture of death, destruction, and disease, because they are cave people, Neanderthals. Neanderthals, they fall. They're the fallen. Those are the fallen spirits who were put into a body and go around murdering, raping, unless we give them a bit of our culture. A sense of why we called them. We gave them days, months. And they came to America as either indentured servants or killers, genocidal, homicidal maniacs. So right here, America is the true old world. They taught you his story. And that's a deranged caveman who does not have enough melanin to decode the songs of Ra, the songs of nature, the songs of the sun, which are mathematical codes that your body, your pineal gland decodes through mathematical geometry shapes, and you can manifest. He can't do it. He has to vampire around you and hide your culture and lie and make you think that he's the one inventing everything. He can't invent anything. He doesn't have enough melanin. Anu. He doesn't have enough frequency. He's not an electrical being. So right here, we have a picture of when the land was connected. He wasn't here. So right here, Queen Califia in the island of California, she ruled in paradise until the great floods of the early 1800s. Excuse me. So Chronicles of Califia. So Califia is a title, remember. It's a title. So that meant that multiple Moorish women, your mother, ruled, and she put you as her son, a Mason, a Myson, a Mayatin, descendants of Mu, or what you call Atlantis, previous civilizations before the reset of the troglodyte entering your dream and creating a nightmare. Your mother ruled, and you are a descendant of your mother. Mu, Mur, Mutter, Netter, Medu Nature, Mother Nature, Medu Netter, the language written down of your mother, Mother Nature, the sounds and songs of nature, the hieroglyphs. That's what we're going to use AI for, and that's what they're doing, using AI to decode the language of our ancestors, because that's what, when we speak it, Tuk Ak Amun, Setepenra, Aminra, Ptah, Zahuti, Kefra, Dozier. And we use these tones and sounds to awaken ourselves, to break open the cells, to become the most high intellectual beings we possibly can be. The roadmap is laid out. The foundation is here. So the term was exterminate them. To exterminate your mind. Written accounts of murder, rape, and enslavement of Native Americans during the gold rush. So we gotta just quit paint this loving picture of Europeans and Christians and how they're next to us and how they're mayors and the dollar bill. Your Europeans here literally invaded your lands. And so we have evidence in books written down of murder, rape, and enslavement of Moors and Moors. Because remember, the word murder is a synonym for the murder or decapitation of you as a Moor and Moor. The murder state, California's Native American genocide, 1846 to 1873. And what a coincidence. As we were talking about the multiple empresses and the difference between a queen and an empress, we have Empress El Anu.
Hello, Greece. What's up, family?
How are you doing, Empress?
I am amazing over here creating, just being an empress, you know, in my bag right now. How are you doing over there?
Let's start it off. Well, I'm doing beautiful, like I saw this.
Today we're taking a stylish little tour through the gut because chemistry and anatomy make an irresistible pair. These two winding powerhouses right here, the small intestine and the large intestine, decide what your body keeps and what it lets go. Your small intestine, about 20 feet of velvety tubing, breaks food. Class. Today the star of the show is this, Takis. Spicy, crunchy, and absolutely loaded with red dye and saturated fat. When those roll through your system, they don't just party on your tongue. They slide into the small intestine and leave a residue of oil, dye, and fat. Veggies are more than just colorful snacks. This orange, for example, is a bundle of water, natural sugars, vitamins, and fiber. After you chew and swallow, enzymes in the stomach get the breakdown started. Then the party moves right here.
I am rewriting your DNA. You will never see the world the same again.
I can't breathe. I didn't ask for this. Anubis, why me?
Your grief seals the covenant. Rise, daughter of the jackal.
The hour is upon you.
I just...
Out. Time to finish this. Come on, then. Back to the void. No ghost haunts my kingdom. Looks incredible. I can't. I don't like it anymore. I don't like meat anymore. Oh my god.
This mango tastes like sunlight after rain. The forest feeds its warriors well. Crunchy and sweet. These colors belong to kings and queens.
One more time for the audience.
Class, today we're taking a stylish little tour through the gut because chemistry and anatomy make an irresistible pair. These two winding powerhouses right here, the small intestine and the large intestine, decide what your body keeps and what it lets go. Your small intestine, about 20 feet of velvety tubing, breaks food. Class, today the star of the show is this, Takis. Spicy, crunchy, and absolutely loaded with red dye and saturated fat. When those roll through your system, they don't just party on your tongue. They slide into the small intestine and leave a residue of oil, dye, and fat. Veggies are more than just colorful snacks. This orange, for example, is a bundle of water, natural sugars, vitamins, and fiber. After you chew and swallow, enzymes in the stomach get the breakdown started. Then the party moves right here.
I am rewriting your DNA. You will never see the world the same again.
I can't breathe. I didn't ask for this. Anubis, why
Your
me?
grief seals the covenant. Rise, daughter of the jackal.
The hour is upon you.
I just...
Out. Time to finish this. Come on then. Back to the void. No ghost haunts my kingdom. Looks incredible. I can't. I don't like it anymore. I don't like meat anymore. Oh my god.
This mango tastes like sunlight after rain. The forest feeds its warriors well. Crunchy and sweet. These colors belong to kings and queens.
Tell us about it. We were talking about, I was talking about AI and how we're going to use AI on a positive scale, using what they say the negativity, negative ions, like you would say, right? And positive ions or photons to form together. So using AI in a productive manner, like Empress El Anu just did, and then using AI to eventually decode these hieroglyphs or hieroglyphs that are going to get up out of this video game. So explain to us, Empress, literally before you plugged in, we were talking about how California looked before the gold rush. And we used this picture right here of Riverside County and how before the Santa Ana River and Colorado River water sources were dammed up and redirected and our monuments blown up. This is what Riverside.
So I came here on divine timing, it sounds like.
Yes. So go ahead.
I hear divine timing. That seems to be happening quite a bit these days, and it's cool that you played those videos so I can see it from a different perspective. But it's using AI as a tool to be able to express things that are hard to explain. Like I can come to you and say, hey, I had a big huge being come out from the floor and he had a dog face, and you're gonna be like, huh? But if I can use AI to create a story, it gives a visual versus using AI to pretend like I'm something I'm not. And this is what the conversation my daughter and I had yesterday. She goes, Mom, that's creepy. That looks really weird. And I said, I get it, but here's the trick. That's the same trick Hollywood's been using for decades to trick us. You think these actors and actresses were traveling all over the place on different sets? No. They're in the comfort of their home. They send them here, you take this picture, profile, okay. And then they use technology, our technology, because AI is us. So we're just being reintroduced to ourselves. So don't be afraid of yourself, embrace it, but don't use it to try and trick people. And that's where the divide's going to come in at. That's where I say AI is going to be what you would call the devil, because folks are going to use it to trick you. And that's where discernment needs to come into play. So right now, our ancestors are coming to get their children. They're coming to get their quote unquote chosen ones. So you're going to see a lot of folks activated, right? Which means you're going to start to see some superhero, aka paranormal activity taking place. You might see a big, huge 8-foot, 9-foot so-called giant or alien walking around, or spaceships flying high. So now that AI is being unfolded more and it's more what do you call it? People have access to it now. They're going to start removing the watermarks. And that's what my daughter was saying. She's like, Mom, they're going to remove the watermarks. And I said, cool. And she goes, no, that's not cool. She said, we're not going to know the difference between what's real and what's fake. And I said, well, that's when you use discernment. So, we're coming into a time where it is important. It's imperative that's why we have to heal, because if we don't heal and get rid of the negative energy that's in us. So when you saw the clip of me and it shows like I'm a warrior and I'm fighting off spirits, that's what that is. That was me purging and cleansing. It showed Anubis came up from the ground and I passed the initiation. And then you saw me just crying. That really happened. I cried for hours, but that was part of the healing process. So once I started to heal and I got a little bit lighter, that's how you elevate in this game. And that's how you're able to see things that people would say, oh, you're crazy if you see orbs or if you see spaceships or if you see, since I've been a kid, I've been seeing spirits or AKA ghosts or whatever you want to call them. I've been seeing that my whole life. So most people, and some of y'all have been seeing it too, but some of us are so sleep or dense, we're not light, which is why it's important that we change what we're eating, because a lot of us aren't and can't eat the food, the European diet that's being presented to us here. We can't eat that food because our body, our physical DNA, our makeup it can't hold that. You'll think of something like if I were to take a water bottle or take any kind of bottle or something, you put some liquid in it. You're dense. You can't be light. If you took that water bottle that had water in it and you threw it, it wouldn't go very far. But if you pour it out and it's going to go further in distance. And so that's the same thing that goes with us. We have to change the way we eat, because I see Queen Khalifa up here. These are our ancestors that are coming back. Why are they coming back? Because the planet is waking up and the planet is getting rid of all this BS that's been like, what do you call it? There's parasites. There's what do they call? Yeah, parasites for the most part. There's parasites that attack your body, and that's the same thing that happened with Mother Earth, the planet. It's been attacked, and now it's waking up. So whether you're ready or not, you're about to see some things. What they say, that's the veil being removed. So inside your body, there's things happening, and on the universe, there's things happening outwardly. So you can physically see outwardly what's going on and what's taking place. So, you can physically see what's happening with your eyes. So that should tell you what's going on inside. And that's why it's important that we learn how to eat the foods that build up and make goddesses and gods and emperors and empresses thrive. You feel me? We have to thrive at our highest capacity in order for us to leave this game, in order for us to even down. So yeah, I'm excited about AI. As long as there's balance, Mayat, okay, we got to balance these out. Because if we're always afraid of stuff, that's fear is false evidence appearing real. And fear, if you get down to it, it's an energy or it's a spirit. And it's a very strong spirit, because a lot of people are scared right now. Should be no reason why you're scared. This is an opportunity for us as gods and goddesses, children of the Most High, to be able to utilize these creative tools so that we can thrive, okay? Be creative. We are the original creators. So why be afraid of something we created when we created it? So it's like being afraid of yourself. So don't let these pastors and all these other programs scare you into utilizing AI. Use it with discernment and balance. You know, of course, add your own videos, be authentic, but use it as a tool to uplift your people versus using it as a tool to trick people into believing things that aren't true. So that's my spin on it. Are you still there?
beautiful breakdown of the picture in the middle. What Icarus El Anu is speaking of is in the middle, the great reset. The great reset that each of us, hopefully viewing, have experienced already, but resetting your mind. Resetting your mind to recalibrate, like Empress El Anu is saying, changing our perspective, cleansing our lenses so we could see different ways to get to our higher self. So yes, the great reset. But before we go further, when we were talking about knowledge and information and authenticity with Empress El Anu, she really works out. She really does kickbox. She really does practice and perform health conscious juices, foods, and really has dove into her studies of the mind, human body, spirit, and within. I also wanted to congratulate her on achieving her, I want to say the organization, but it's an official trainer, physical trainer. So
I get to yell at people. Get up. Let's go. You'll be my first client, okay?
Anytime. So once again, we're talking about in the community what's going on before Empress plugged in about us not celebrating our scholars and educators, and how entertainers are celebrated more than our doctors, how brothers coming home from prison are celebrated more than our doctors, the thugs and gangsters in our community are celebrated. So I really like what Mike Epps said. Here we go as we go to the next slides. So,
trauma for black men. All these niggas is gangsters running around talking this street shit. Straight trauma, nigga.
Went through a lot.
Been through hell, nigga.
100%.
You get them niggas will cry, be on the side of the building crying their heart out, you know, because you know, and that's what they do for our youth. We have to start targeting and gearing, celebrating those journeys. Those are the wrong journeys to celebrate, young men. There's no reward for coming home after 30 years. You don't get no fucking care package, nigga. You are a failure. Get your ass out here and help these kids, nigga. Pay that back forward. You see what I'm saying? That's the reward. I got niggas all the time come straight home. If I don't do what they want me to do for them, I'm a sellout. I'm a sucker ass nigga.
Right?
I done did the whole bit with them. I done been to Walmart 100 times, Jay paying and meeting guards, doing all kind of shit I ain't supposed to be doing, fucking with you, nigga. But
as soon as you say no one time,
they done forgot about the other 99 times you said yes. You know?
That's the cold thing.
I got a buddy right now, man, you know, hurt my feelings that he sends all these different messages out saying shit about me. I done been there for this nigga 100 times. You know, 100 times, man. And he sends, every time I see somebody, they saying oh man, he's.
So right there, you know, let's
hating on each other.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's why we were talking about leaving people behind, y'all. Just like when you're training, just like an athlete, just like if you're running in high school with your friends, and hopefully you have a coach to say you have the potential to run faster. Don't allow your friends to hold you back. And that's like anything in life, with your friends, your family, during this great reset, the great reset of the matrix and our minds, but also the planet being restored to the righteous empresses. And so it's going to be women like Empress El Anu who says Jason or this brother is the emperor, the king, the chief, the president. This is why we really need each other. And this is what California is also going to represent, is that the woman, the Moorish woman, the title of a Khalifa. That's a title. That's a nobility title. Like we said, president, Amen, Amen Ra, Septepen Ra, Zahuti, Tahuti. These are all titles, priesthoods. King is a title. Emperor is a title. Chief is a title. Scientist is a title, but you practice and perform it to your best, most noblest ability. And that's what we are descendants of. That is Mu. That is the sacred geometry of our education system that our mothers, our woman, like Empress El Anu, is already born gifted with. And us as her descendants, we are already born intelligent. We are born intellect. We are not artificial. We are the supreme intelligence. So others are creating AI, creating robots to try to mimic you because they know that the clock is ending for them. So they think that they could figure it out by using robots, AI, and all these things, while Empress El Anu is showing you, okay, we'll use this to tell our story even quicker, you know, because you guys been using green screen. Until you go to Hollywood to a movie set or Universal Studios, you think, oh, that's real. You thought your rappers were real. You shouldn't have even been listening to rappers or being allowed to hear rappers that talked about gangbanging, killing, and robbing. Women ain't shit. What kind of satanic message was that to our people to destroy? And now look at our women today. Look at Moorish or so-called black music. We were saying Mozart is Moor's art. Moor's art, to strip you away when we were playing the violin to these vampires and putting these codes in them to make them act right or try our best. So once again, the coding, the words, the etymology to break the curse of when our mothers ruled, the Mayat, M-A-A-T, Mayatins, the Mayans, Masons, sons of Maya, what today they will call the Eastern Stars. So our mothers hold that, even to those who believe in Jesus and Yeshua. I say, what is the name of Jesus Christ's grandmother? He had a grandma, according to your book, and her name was Ruth, and she was a Moabite, which means Moor, Mur. Culture, geometry, mathematics, a group of people already here before the Bible, Quran, Torah, Judaism, when the woman did not, when the woman was in power. That's why all the old movies back in the day, the Conan movies, all those, it's usually over the woman. It's over her inheritance. So that's what the troglodytes did. They murdered us, and they would rape and have sex with our women to have a mixed baby to steal the land by birthright. But this is what we're doing by figuring it out through books, through technology, to tell the true story of our people. And this is how we free ourselves. Because once again, we are immortal beings. So we have to remember, up until recently, this is 1846, 1873, 1900s, where they were still gunning us down, and they still do it today with the police. They have you locked in prisons. The extermination is still happening because you think you're black or Christian. So you've been converted mentally to think that they are an American when they're citizens of the United States of America, which is a corporation, which is a business. And this is a business takeover because our land is our business. Yep. The water is our business. Nature, the birds, the air.
Yep.
That's our business because that's our culture on how we thrive. That's our wealth. The land, the waters. We protect the waters because we need the waters. Reciprocal, the circle of life, Kefra. So when I was in Africa backpacking with the Zulu Nation in 06, I learned and understood while the troglodyte was laughing, why does he have a beetle on his back? They didn't understand Kefra, or the big bad beetle board, or why they called it themselves the Beatles. Because the Beatles infiltrated us as the so-called scared beetle, the black beetle, Kefra, our education system. And that's who even Michael Jackson went to war with, descendant of the Beatles, who mimicked us. as Moors and Moors. So once again, through word magic, we can break the spell, the cells, to be free. So it's all about rulership. So go ahead, Lana, if there was anything I was saying as we get to the old Spanish trail. So the old, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Because when you say old Spanish trail, I'm thinking, because I stayed in Tucson, Arizona for a short time, maybe about 9 months. Woo! Lots going on out there, y'all. And I remember old Spanish trail for some reason. They had a lot of names out there that had a lot of history that matches. So when I met you and you were telling me all this stuff, it all started making sense. And I was like, we need to go to Tucson, Arizona, because there's a lot going on out there. Spanish Conquistador. There's like, I think there's even an area called Old Spanish Trail, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, go into it. I want to hear.
So the Spanish Trail, as we know, the Moors, that's the old Moorish Trail. Just like when they talk about when they found the Silk Route, they're telling you that we already had routes as Moors and Moors even after the devastation of the mud floods and all these random earthquakes and random weather things that never happened before once they stole our technology and all these other things once they invaded. And you got to remember, nature reacted. Nature reacted when it got here. The birds, the bees, the nature reacted. And so the first annual Old Spanish Trail ride. So right here, like Lana was saying, Arizona, California, Nevada, Colorado, this was the Trail of the Tears. This is where we went. So the Old Spanish Trail is the old Moorish Trail. That's why they called it Agua Mansa, the gentle waters. So the waters, as we showed earlier, ran through the Inland Empire, the Moorish Empire, and we had trade routes, not just on water, but on the land, and civilizations and communities were on those rivers and also inland. So when we say Spanish, it tries to erase our memory of us as the colonizers of the Europeans in Spain. And not colonizers, the teachers and educators of the European, pale-skinned European. So long story short, when we say Old Spanish Trail, how could it be old if the Spanish just got here? It's called the Moorish Trail from now on, y'all, because they use these trade routes to steal our gold. And so to the right, they'll say, if you do your research, they'll say, oh, the Europeans brought slaves to mine the gold and all these things. No, these were Moors and Moors, so-called Black Indians that were already here, who got hit with genocide, and some escaped enslavement, some escaped the murder of the smallpox, and some were still here. But the most went to go fight what we call the Indian Wars down south as well, the Gullah Geechee Wars, the so-called Yamasee Seminole Wars, along with being shipped to the islands as well. So once again, we see them making up his story, and we can catch him in his lie through pictures. Like Lana was saying, if we didn't have pictures, we wouldn't have this. And now we can use AI to quicken up the attack that they're doing through Hollywood that's already been done, because we see that they alter photos, they alter green screens, they alter history or her story. And so so once again, before Lana wants to say anything, this just once again shows us that recently they took over. Recently, the so-called pale-skinned Europeans took over our Moorish towns. If they can erase us as Moors and Moors and indigenous people here, they can steal our minds and therefore have you thinking reparations is money, when the restoration is having our land. Therefore, I claim, as Dr. Jason Edwin Williams, EDD, a descendant of El Morocco, that this Riverside County and San Bernardino County is Indian land. Therefore, it's Moorish land. And so, once again, we are owed restorations physically, financially, and land-wise. So that's the importance of calling it the Moorish Trail, the old Moorish Trail, not old Spanish. And those are what we call $5 Indians, because in the Indian Removal Act, 1852, this is when they changed us, like the Dawes Act. They changed us from Indians, Moors, to black. Remember, if you take off black or Moor and take off Moor, you're black. And that's the mind state that our people are in. Instead of operating as Moors or Moors or Indians or indigenous people who already have a culture that still exists, and that's the wealth. So go ahead.
Oh no, I'm listening. I was listening to you. I had to run and grab something real quick. But yeah.
So when we say, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So right here, it says steamships coming from Nicaragua. Once again, other parts of the Americas, South America, Central America, coming here for the gold rush. Because you remember El Dorado. And remember, the islands are us. So Nicaragua. The Nagas water. So you see Agua and Nagar. So Naga Agua, waters of the Moors, waters of the Nagas. So right there, we link it up from California Island, Empress Califia, Queen Califia. The name California comes from Califia. So through words, through education, we free our people and other people who might think that you're a nigger instead of a Naga.
And the Nagas is not a what do you call it? A mysterious, what is it? What they call it? A mythical. Mythical. Everything about our history is mythical, but everything about theirs is factual. When that's not the case. It's the other way. It's the other way around.
Right. They have no story. They have to make it up.
From ours.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. So the gold rush of the 49ers, 13. So that deals with secret societies. So that's pale-skinned Europeans from secret societies coming in, knowing the maps, knowing where to go, and knowing where the gold mines were. How did you know that they had gold? We learned this in school, that they were sent to ransack and murder our gold because they knew that advanced civilizations were already in the Americas prior to any Jesus, any God that they worship or brought upon us. We were already advanced. We had electricity, Wi-Fi. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say, so now that the planet is shifting because it's waking up, because there were places that the gold and the land, everything was at that they knew where it was, but the planet is shifting, so all that stuff is going in different locations, and they have no idea where it's at. So they're really stuck right now.
And also, Lana, Empress El Anu, is also now a segment. Remember, that's knowledge. She's a big cat, big cat.
They're gonna be struggling looking for it. Like, damn, we can. It's in our DNA. There's nothing you can do about it. When I do my genealogy and I ask the ancestors in my family that are still alive, which I strongly suggest y'all do, get their insight. Start asking about your great grandparents and your great see as far back as they can go, and then interview different family members so that you can tie it together, because a lot of them, information gets lost along the years as time goes on or whatever. So you got to kind of talk to different ancestors or different people in your family that are older. Go talk to them so that you can find out about who you are, because you might find out you come from something that someone that really did big things that was great, and then it'll start making more sense as to why you might be interested in different topics like history or technology or health. You know what I mean? Because you're going to find out that you have lineage, you have a bloodline that might be a huge in the health industry, or you might have doctors, or psychologists in your bloodline, which might make sense as to why you're interested in your studies and what you're doing in life, or even with the job that you have. If you're a nurse, or whatnot, it's because you might have that in your bloodline. You come from what they say, the body of Christ. The body of Christ is you. So what I learned when I studied the body, there's 11 organ systems, but each of those organ systems have different functions, which means your body is a system. That's why they're called 11 organ systems. When you go to work, you're working in a system. So if you work for, let's say, a retail company or a hospital, wherever, when you apply for that position, it's not just going to say call center, you want to be a customer service rep. You have options. You can work in human resources. You can work in the operations department. You can work as a janitor. They're going to have a list of things that you can do just within that organization alone. So that's how your body works. So we have a long way to go because most of us have no clue how our body functions and works. And when we study how our body functions and works, then everything that the world is doing will start to make sense to you. It'll all tie together when we study our organ systems and the functions and what they do and how it ties together. So it'll all start to make sense. It's like a map. You know what I'm saying? It's a map. And your body's the original blueprint. So when you know, it's a wrap. There's nothing anyone can tell you at that point. They can't manipulate you or deceive you. Once you understand or overstand the functions of the body, the original blueprint. And when you talk about the Bible, they speak of that in the Bible about how you should take care of your temple and how important it is. That's why it said it, but they skim over that. Talk about other things because they don't want you to study your body. That's all I got for now.
That is key. That's what our education system was based on. When we look at the temples throughout the world, whether surrounding the pyramids or an aerial view, you'll see that the temples are literally a body. And so whether you went into one part of the temple, it's of the mind, like this book that I'm reading right here. Let me show you.
What's the name of that book?
The Temple of the Soul, Initiation in the Temple of Osiris at Abydos. And it shows how they use the hieroglyphics, iconography, and architecture and holographic technology to teach the mystic of our education system. So you see, it looks like computer circuits. Your body's a computer circuit.
Yep,
it's a city. And so you can tap into these different portals, different dimensions, all these different things. So now that they're releasing hologram technology, it's actually them stealing from when we were in the Kemet. And so these things would move. So you're gonna start seeing AI, these beings moving, and it tells a story. So we would use light convergence on these, hitting lights in different angles, because everything inside of the temples are geometrically acoustic. So you talk about sound healing. This looks like a harmonica going on, and let's say it's a pre-recording of hums, and then you're walking in of these sounds going in perfect directions, meant for the initiate to be hit with certain sounds, tones, teachings, while viewing this. And these are moving though. They're moving through light fixtures. That's why they had to destroy a lot of the hieroglyphs, because they tell stories. This is all sacred geometry. You see Tahuti, that's you, that's a priest. That means that you have the mind of Tahuti right there, you know? And so then you holding these advanced devices and transferring it to the initiate.
Wow.
You know, and these other sacred symbols and sounds. So all throughout here, these sacred texts is learning how to power yourself up, So you would have to go through the temple at certain angles and all different initiation processes that they teach us, you know, the progressions of the mind here. You know, this is our education system. This is what we're supposed to be learning in classes in school, because they can't comprehend others, the human. They're trying their best to, and this is what they use. They study us. They study this, but we're supposed to be learning this in elementary, junior
What do
high.
they study? They study what?
The mind.
They study us. You said?
They study us. Yes, they know us. They look at this. Look at this. You see how this, now we look at it as a hieroglyph, right? When we just see that. But now when we look up close, the temple that is laid out is designed like the hieroglyph right next to it, which is your body. And so that part of the temple, which is your Osiris pillar, all that is done to activate your Ka, your Ba, your Ra. So imagine how we were operating when our cities were dedicated to that type of innovation of spiritual atonement and spiritual ascension and intellectual ascension. That's why they show you movies like Wakanda, and they have to take away us being the Tuskegee Airmen originally before them, the inventors of everything, of math, science, geometry, because once we have purpose of that, our education system is here in front of us, and our elders have left books and created books. This is our education system. It's already here. So when we see these glyphs, we're decoding heavy science, metaphysics, algebra, DNA, like Anu is teaching us. You see the empresses, the female, the pharaohs, the priestesses, and you being initiated by the woman. You see the device, just like the Neuralink. That's what they're trying to do, but we were doing that to where initiates, deservingly so, were able to get that information, download the universal information once you reach a high level, because it had to be guarded. You know, imagine some fool off the street who doesn't have like, that's the difference between an honorary doctor that they do in the Black community versus a real doctor who went through the experience. You know, people look at it, oh, a doctor's a piece of paper in the white man's world. We'll do both. You're just mad you can't do it.
Right.
So
exactly.
what it is right. And so when you're able to go through that experience of the initiation for yourself, then your elders, your ancestors who still exist on other realms will put you through certain tests in life for you to get to a certain level and opportunities to learn. So everyone watching this, even our Christian brothers who worship Jesus and all that, much love, all that science of Jerusalem, like she was saying, Christ or Krishna, Christos, energy, the Kaaba, all comes out of El Kemet, Atlantis, Mu, basically our cultures that predate the troglodyte European, what we would call Anglo-Saxons or Neanderthals today. These are our sciences to break us free. So it just gets fun when we see the hologram and the Metu, like we were saying, the Metu Netra is what they call it. Medu Netra sounds like Mother Nature. So clicks and and then the hawk go or something, and now you're talking to the hawk, the dog, the air. That's why they show you movies of airbenders, because there were tones for you to communicate with the air, the bird, the falcon. You know,
I had to go to school. When I went to school, I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off, but this is on my when I went to school for psychology, it was Cal Baptist. So I thought I was going to school it was a Baptist, school, because I was taught you weren't supposed to study other religions. Christian was the religion, okay? But when I went to Cal Baptist, I was like, oh, this is non-denominational, which means they're servicing other religions. And then when I took a class that I had to learn and actually do a book report on what the difference was with different religions, I found that all of them had the same foundation. And so at that point, that's, when I realized that what you were saying as far as Christianity and all these different religions, what they'll do with religion is they don't want you to know your original culture. So it's kind of like if you're eating a plate of meat, vegetables, and let's say potatoes, and you only eat the potatoes and the meat, but you leave the vegetables there. That's kind of like what religion is. They only want you to know a crumb of what they call belief or knowledge. The rest of it is thrown out the window. You're not supposed, so now you don't think you're supposed to know all this information, and it's demonized to you on top of it. So what we're learning right here, if we stop eating certain foods that don't serve our body well, this information that Dr. Jason is showing us right now will begin to make sense, because it's like your body is deactivating codes. Now your system is clear enough to where your ancestors can actually answer you, because your body is not filled up with a bunch of junk, processed foods, meat that doesn't serve your body any well at all. You just got to get rid of it. Once we get rid of it, then we can start elevating and graduating, like Dr. Jason was saying. It's like they can communicate with you now. They can you'll be able to process what you're seeing. It'll start to make more sense.
Example, the ram, they'll say Baphomet, and we say Ra, and all these different things. But when we talk about the position of the ram, imagine that antenna and what that deity, our so-called animal and animation character here, what that knowledge holds. Because once you understand that the nature, the animals, what you call animals, they talk, they communicate. It's just that you've been thrown off by the colonizer. We're the original cowboys. When you go to SeaWorld and see them playing with the dolphins, who did they get that from? They just got out the caves. When you go to the zoo and circus, see them controlling animals, that was us. They tell you about Hannibal coming in with elephants and all these. That's just one person they tell you about to restrict you, that was a nationwide culture of either domesticating certain animals or basically having a relationship, a reciprocal relationship with nature. Because once an animal understands that you're not going to kill them, and that's told in that region, imagine the level of communication that can occur. So when we see the Ra or Ram, we would use nature. And so when you would see certain pharaohs with the ram helmet, or you see the Baphomet, that's just them changing the symbols to, one, scare people away from your El Kemet education system that is all about nature. We use nature as our iconography, our totems. Just like if you go to a high school or a college, they have a mascot that's really representative of the theme of that university or institution. But right here, the lost ship of the desert, once again, this is proof of Moors and Moors that they'll say Spanish. They'll always try to say Spanish to make you think that it's pale-skinned Europeans, but we know that these are Moorish ships, and they enslaved and captured Moors and stole our ships and maps, or forced us to show them where our lands were. The pale-skinned European didn't know where these lands were. He bragged about the movie saying the earth was flat. And then people will say, well, the earth is flat. For me, it's an infinite plane of existence. So right here, but basically they didn't know. They didn't know anything outside existed of their realm, because we gave them a new reality. They were Ooga Booga Fred Flintstone, and they tell you this. So the ship of the desert is proof of Moorish ships in the Inland Empire, Riverside County, San Bernardino County, the Mojave Desert. And so once again, the Europeans came here looking for treasures. So imagine the other treasures that are underneath San Bernardino County, Riverside County, that they have yet to find. So I want everyone to look up the lost ship of the desert and finding the lost treasures of the new world. That's what they came here for. This was paradise. This is paradise, you know? And so it takes us to, as we start closing it out, Riverside, Chinatown. Did you know that one of the biggest Chinatowns on the West Coast outside of San Francisco was in Riverside? So right here, when you travel through Riverside, you'll see that there's a historic monument to the left. Look at that architecture. That is not produced today. And so who are the original Chinese? That's us. And then you have the Mongolians. I even have books on the Chinese and the Egyptians. And we also have, earlier we were showing the lost world of CHAM. We take off CHAM and we say HAM or CAM, Kim, lost world of CAM. And so that's where we learn about Angkor Wat, Fiji, Tonga, Micronesia, Indonesia.
People used to always say to me, they used to say, are you Creole? No, they used to ask me if I was Asian, but it was Filipino. Yeah. They're like, oh, you're half Filipino or you're Asian because your eyes are slanted.
Because the original Filipino, because if you guys look it up, I'm sure people watching know, Lana's exactly correct. The original Filipinos are Muurs and Moors. If you type it in Google, the oldest pictures of Filipinos are us. That's why certain Asians, like if they're not so-called whitewashed or Europeanized, westernized, they'll are racist. They'll some like Cambodians, Viet Cong, that still let you know, or even some Filipinos back in the day will let you know, like, no, we're the same. Same thing with Tongans, Samoans. You know, those are Pacific Islanders. But the original people of those islands were us. But the Mongolians, like the Genghis Khans and those latter Muurs and Moors of those regions came in and mixed in. So Riverside had a Chinatown. Once again, earlier we were talking about Sherman Indian School. So what happened is that the Asians that were in Riverside already, and the ones that came in as indentured servants or slaves from the Spanish bringing them here, they gave them our Moorish land. And those are the Native Americans, the Mongolians and Chinese, children of the Europeans, of the Spanish. So when the Spanish raped the Chinese and Mongolians who were already here, it formed what today you call Native American and your Hispanic, Latino, or Mexican. So everywhere they went. And then you have your Chinese, Mongolians who mixed in with the Moors and Moors. And then those mixed children who mixed in with Europeans. So they created these different classes, class systems, systematically, like El Anu was speaking of, systems, buffers for the true indigenous, autochthonous people, because they say indigenous. Now you see why they say autochthonous, meaning like you're free to go wherever. Go into more detail. Axamon, all these different pronunciations that people say Turtle Island, but turtle was another, that's still an English word. So basically Riverside had a Chinatown. And so that's what they gave to Sherman Indians, who now get benefits as Native Americans who are actually mixed children of the colonizers. And also colonizers, Europeans, were able to make themselves $5 Indians. This is why when you see Indians of today, they're pale skinned. They're nothing of the antiquity pictures that we even saw. The Red Indians, where are they? You know? So it's a psyop. And that's why Asia and Japan and China is still in cahoots with Europeans here, because it's all to take the land. But first they have to take your mind, because the land did not go anywhere. They redirected the waters for the water to go to different places, but the land is still here.
Because
So
wealth is a
once
mindset.
Right. So once again, that's your Native Americans. So when they're getting funding decades and decades, while our people are forced to go to their schools, forced to go to their work, have no knowledge outside of Christianity or Islam or Judaism of their culture, that is an atrocity. That's an attack. That's a nonstop an attack once you understand that you're a Muur Indian. Sending your kids to the schools is an attack on their innocence. Going to their churches when you know recently they were killing you. They forced you to believe in Jesus. They forced you to believe in the Bible. They killed you recently.
They really did.
So
I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that when I was a kid. I remember my stepdad used to make us go to church. And I remember coming in the house and it would say, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." And I remember every Sunday, like Saturday night, I would pull my mom aside and be like, "Why do we have to go? I hate this place." And she's like, I know. And it was like, if you wanted to live there, you had to go to church. And I remember as a kid, I would go to church with my arms crossed. Like in my head, I can't wait till I turn 18 so I can leave the house so I don't have to go to church. That's bad. That's your soul telling you something because it goes against your DNA codes. Okay? It's like if your DNA code is 1011 and they're sending out 8756, it's not computing. So the whole time growing up, it's like you're missing the mark. You know what I mean? So you grow up not being able to be fed the information that your body and your soul requires to elevate in order to be able to see the BS for what it is. So that's why we're just now, a lot of people are either just now waking up, or when the planet is like, I'm gonna wake up whether you like it or not, and they start seeing things that they're not ready for, it's gonna be a real confusing, interesting time that we're gonna be living in for some people. But go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm listening. I agree 100%.
I'm excited.
Me too. I
for
too.
all of us coming.
And look at this Chinaman. Look how he looks. He looks different than the Chinese you see today, doesn't he? He has a tan. He has a flat nose. He looks kind of mixed like a brother.
Yeah.
So that's the version of the Chinese that were living in Riverside. Not the ones who are pale skinned, who are new Chinese. Another manufactured human that recently hit the scene. So the Asians that you see today, they're either the fake manufactured ones, like they call them Caucasians. The new Asians are the ancestors of the Caucasian. But this is a derivative of the original Chinaman who had melanin in his skin, in her skin. So right here you see a plaque in Riverside. Wait, where did it go? Why did it do that? It says a 7-acre settlement was found here in 1666, by Dui Wu Lung and other leaders of Riverside's pioneer Chinese until 1000. The population rarely dropped below 150, and during the citrus harvest often numbered several thousand. 100,000, 200,000, we don't know, but it numbers several thousand. Riverside had a Chinatown that numbered several thousand people, and a brick building which was erected. So that meant it was already there, y'all. It was already there. After the Chinatown fire, of July 13th, 1803. Wow. And then China until 1800 was the Riverside Chinatown, it says. I thought it said 100. So there was a Chinatown fire in 1803 that destroyed a lot of those buildings. And you know who the original Chinese are, the Moors, and was removed in 1878. Like you guys, you remember when I was showing you those Riverside opera houses and all those megalithic structures? They said they were removed. And so it was removed in 1878 and was the last of 26 structures. Whoa! Structures, not little shacks. Structures. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a real city of thousands of people along Chinatown Avenue, homie. Come on, dog.
Wow.
So that right there, we've cracked the code again. I haven't seen anything in Riverside from our culture linking this up. And that's how, once again, they became the Indians, or native, what we would call Native Americans. That's why they say native. Native, because they're not the real Indians and Indigenous, so they have to say native.
Wow. I didn't know that.
We link this up right here to the Sherman Indian School that looks just like Moorish castles and technology right there. And once again in Riverside. So look at the dirt roads, and that's how they brought in the Chinese. They gave the Chinese and the children whose mothers were raped by pale-skinned European settlers in the Chinatown if they didn't get put in internment camps. And here we are today. Those are your Sherman Indians. Look at them. And you see some with the flat nose. And you see that their hair was pressed clearly. And then some with different nose because they're descendants of us right there. They're Sherman. They're the new Indians. So they took us as our land and replaced them. And that's how they get benefits. And that's why they are cursed to this day. And they have alcohol problems in their communities, even though they're multi-millionaires. They haven't invented anything, nothing innovative. Their biggest sports athlete was Jim Thorpe. And Jim Thorpe couldn't make it in a league championship. The Sherman Indian kids who play basketball would lose to a group of sixth grade all-star girls, bro, and goddesses. They're non-athletic people. It's not them. And it's a tragedy that they're getting funding and millions of dollars. Meanwhile, we're stuck in these violent cities. No funding when we graduate automatically. When someone has a quinceañera, they get funding. When they have a bar mitzvah, they get funding. So the greatest thing for Black people is for them EBT and all that, because other races get benefits. So don't allow people to tell, oh, welfare, bad, and they get more of welfare than us too.
Right.
So when they took out of affirmative action, oh, they never been playing fair. It's rigged. The sports is rigged. Everything. You don't think that cryptocurrency is rigged? Digital currency? Are you kidding me?
So are you saying as soon as we wake up, then all of these illusions will be gone, Dr. Jason? Is that what you're saying?
Just like the background, they're gone because we're gonna wake them up. So when we separate first our minds from them, our ancestors are all around us. I'm able to show people things outside of the Mission Inn that they've never heard of before, never seen before, to this day. Proof of a Moorish presence in Riverside County, San Bernardino County, right here. I don't even know if there's any more structures that are still standing. If they just admitted that plaque said 27 structures on Chinese Boulevard, homie. Check this out. So look at the lips right there. We're at the Mission Inn, the historic Mission Inn where all the presidents stay. So look at the lips. That's a brother. Look at the nose still knocked off, and look, it looks like a fez on top. So right there, we have Moors and Moors, black Indians, still statues destroyed intact. Once again, this proves that we are the true Mesoamericans, and not only that, we are the true builders of the Mission Inn Hotel. How do we know? Why are there Moorish statues outside of the Mission Inn Hotel that they still allow for some of us to see? That most of you probably have been coming here all your life and never noticed, because most of the world is under a curse. And so if you're under a curse, which is mind control, you're not going to see things that are directly in front of you. But you only have a little bit of time to wake up, because like I teach, when the mothership arrives, if you don't have enough information, you can't ascend. You're going to be trapped here on the lower realm. Jason.
Did you know there's a castle in the city of Riverside? Benedict Castle is a hidden gem with the...
They flagged that one last time.
Today we're taking a stylish...
I wanted to show you guys, there's someone on the balcony already. Wow. So yeah, we're gonna start doing tours of Riverside County. And these tours are going to include all the castles, all the Moorish castles in Riverside County. And then we're going to break down the names of the cities in Riverside County. We have a Sun City, that's Amun-Ra, Palm Springs, Osiris, Blythe, where the alien extraterrestrial antiglows are. The Nile, Riverside, Corona represents the Crown Lake Elsinore. Hemet is Kemet, Moreno Valley, land of the Moors. So all Redlands, we have an Indio. When you go to Redlands, there's multiple castles downtown. Same with San Bernardino. Every city you go to in Riverside County and San Bernardino County, you will find these advanced structures because we have always been here. We are the founders of this nation, the creators of civilization, of math, science, architecture. And this is proof right here that us as Moors built this castle not too long ago. And simply, it's not even fully refurbished. They took off most of the outer layer, but still nonetheless, proof of who you are. And then proof of the memory wipe that they're trying to put upon your mind to trap you in this video game that we call the Matrix hologram. Their history was created to erase the true story and legacy of you as the founders of all civilization. So right here, this is... So right there, I wanted to show you something real quick as well. The Chinese Historical Society, I wanted to come down. I noticed some things while I was doing some research. Lana, can you see the screen?
I can see it. I'm talking to my little goddess right now, so.
Oh, okay.
I can see it though.
So right here, you see, look at, as we have right here, y'all. Look. You see? Whenever you see the wise Chinese in the movies, they have the our Moorish fez on. That's because we gave them the culture right there. So you see evidence of us in Southern California, the Chinese, and we had a connection like the Golden Child movie. But I wanted to find something that I had saw those brothers. And look at those Chinese. Look at some of their hair. You see the one to the left? Some of them look mixed. So that meant that some of your Asians are getting nose jobs or pressing their hair. Look at this, Riverside. Look at these monuments. Where are they? This is in Riverside, Chinatown, buried. Look how deep underground that is. Y'all see that? Can you see it, Lana?
Yes, I can see it.
That's San Francisco. Let's see if we can find some more I saw. Look at that one. That's UCLA. So that's over there in that area.
Oh, there it is.
What?
There we are.
Where? Talking to me?
Oh, no, I was trying to make my screen larger and I found.
Oh. Ooh, Transcontinental Railroad. Yeah, we're digging deep, y'all. Look at this. Look at this Asian. Look at him, how he zooted up. Yeah, they operate in silence still. The Asian Chinese Historical Society of Southern California. They made sure to hide it. That's why they operate so silently now. Oh, here we go. What do we see here to the right? We see a troglodyte, Neanderthal, pale-skinned European with the Shriners. You see it?
Oh, yeah. The Shriner's hat. Wow.
Right there.
Wow.
And then you see the girls with that on. So right there, they've been, like I said, they've been handling business in secret together to erase our history. Look at that. Chinatown in Los Angeles. That's when you look at the Ming Chinese theater in Hollywood. But remember, we are those people. And they had Bruce Lee. Look at this brother. I know I might be going fast, but I think that's about it for this website. But I thought there was another one that they had on Riverside. But oh, hold on. Oh no, what did I do? You guys still there? Let me stop sharing the screen. Then this is the last one for the Chinese that I really feel will close it out real well. Mission 3. No. Oh, here it is. Last residents of Chinatown. So right here, last resident of Riverside, Chinatown, still remembered, Wong Street on Palm. We know Palm is Osiris or Shango. Code word, y'all. And here's the picture of old boy. His name was George Wong, born 1900. He immigrated to the U.S. in 1914. But okay, so he's an because there was so he knew about the Chinatown that was already here. Because remember, they told us that there were thousands and over 27 monuments blown up. Chow was one of the migrants from China who ended up in the Inland Empire. He managed a vegetable farm along the Santa Ana River. Chinatown emptied by 1920s, and by 1943, the land was purchased and divided by Evergreen Cemetery again. Cemetery, so that meant they covered up stuff over there. And Wong. So right there we see that more covering up of a Chinatown in Riverside. So that's all when it comes to that, to the last reminiscence of evidence of a Chinatown in Riverside. You're muted, my Empress.
Okay, sorry, I was helping her with her schoolwork.
Oh, and I'm gonna share you guys this real quick while we're at it. Check this out too. Window.
Native American, right? A lot of people don't know, but like basically from like the 38th parallel, which is a little north of San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken, down to Baja California, those are all Negro tribes. They're not Mongoloid tribes at all. So, and then like my people and a lot of other Ohlone tribes, coastal tribes, they were considered the blackest. If you go look at the physical description, they call them the blackest people in California. And they even say people to the north, they look Asian, they look Mongoloid, and these people aren't related to them. These are their own characteristics. They got their own thing going on over here. So yeah, very interesting.
Because I feel like a lot of them.
Yeah, so okay. So you better explain that Aboriginal verse, or what we call now, what we're deeming now American Indian verse, Native American, right? So back then in the 1800s, they weren't really doing all that until 1970 when it was coined for these Native Americans to be called Native American. Before that, we were called American Indians, and they were describing, when I say Negro tribes, I go off descriptions, right? So Negro tribes, I go off descriptions, right? So the description of certain tribes say, oh, they're Asiatic, they're Mongoloid, they have, they come from Siberia. And then there's tribes where they're like, these people are Negro, thick lip, broad nose, high cheekbones, protruding bottom lip, this, that, and the other. So you start looking at the physical descriptions, and they say it over and over themselves. They call them Negroes. It's deemed by the colonizers. A lot of people don't know, but like basically from like the 38th parallel, which is a little north of San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken, down to Baja, California, those are all Negro tribes there.
So right there. And then this one, to show mission in real quick, y'all. I'm gonna pass the mic to Lana as we start closing it out.
Satellite, yes I am an alchemist, I murder rubber still stand. Walk with no religion, it's the return of the ancient Egyptians. West Coast, California, my family is Riverside. In the empire, listen. They're a satellite, yes I am an alchemist, I murder rubber still.
Ancient Moorish architecture right here. So they would strip all of this of copper, all right here. So all this is ancient. This is the castle, y'all. And look, for me, I feel a vibration. It's like boom, 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 boom. It's a device. So our buildings are devices, y'all, just like pyramids. This is an ancient device that us as Moors and Moors built. It's a technology device. Peace, God. That's right, brother. And so the mission in is actually a device. And you can see it before they refurbish it, y'all. Look. Save our castles. We are not Black and African Americans, and Muur and Moor takes us forward, and we're Atlanteans, Lemurian. These are words, spells, but this takes us through mathematics and science and knowledge, and it's fun. Remember the time, y'all. So let's go through the archways. As you see, I won't be prejudiced.
A lot of mothers cry. You can feel the thunder cry. Tall nation, you can see on the ride. From a different dimension, Star Trek Enterprise.
This is
A lot of mothers cry. You can feel the thunder cry. Tall nation, you can see on the ride. From a different dimension, Star Trek Enterprise.
So dangerous. Dangerous.
So anything to add with that? As we ended with the picture of Empress Khalifa.
Queen Khalifa.
Khalifa, Queen Khalifa, Empress Khalifa.
that would mean that California is its own individual island, in a sense.
Yes. Replace with these people right here. Much love to all people, but it's time for our culture, for us to recognize it first. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. Do you hear the Korean allowing the European to tell them who they are? No one else accepts that BS. They reject it. Even those of the Ashkenazi pale-skinned Jews, they reject hate. When people say they reject it, they're like, they don't care, to the point to where they'll damage you in all sorts of ways. So it's the same thing with us. We don't have to. That's why they spend so much time online trying to convince you, like, ignore them. Like Empress Anu was saying, they'll disappear. They'll become a forgotten thought. Because once we're operating within our cultural resonance, they're going to need us. Because once we leave and no longer participate in their shenanigans, they're going to turn on themselves like they always did. What is their culture without Moorish or African influence? Who are they before they came amongst us? How about that? Because we have evidence all throughout the world of us. When we go to Melanin Asia, isn't that something they call it? Melanin Asia, melanated Asians is basically.
That's so crazy. It's crazy when you talk. It's like this stuff is literally right in front of our faces, and it's like when you start to elevate and you see it for what it is, you're like, damn, they tricked us. It's like right in front of our faces. Until you start to unravel it, you're like, well, how can I deny it? It's right here. So yes, like you were saying, everything is starting, like, again, when we go back to AI and how folks are scared of it, it's like, yo, they've been using this for decades to create movies and to show on news, and this the same thing we sit
Milli
down.
Vanilli, didn't mean to cut you off, but it came to me real quick. Milli Vanilli, I was watching his interview and how they're still making billions off of that, but they don't get anything. But go ahead, Lon. Basically, Milli Vanilli was the AI of its time too, to where artists were represented by someone else who sung the record, but they were real people. And he said they still used the Moorish image, a black man's image, to make the song popular. So they deserve credit as well, which they do. And so, but Lon is saying that now we're going to be dealing with people with no talent. Like the last episode we showed Gail, Oprah Winfrey's friend interviewed the girl who just signed a multi-million-dollar deal as an AI artist, and she has swagger as if she has talent. Same thing with utilizing the AI that we showed with Empress Anu. If she didn't work out, it'd be different. But she's using it as a tool that, because people are cheating now. People are misrepresenting, just like the music. Now that you found out that all your favorite rappers were getting bucked in the butthole by Diddy and his minions, it trickles down. So that means that the whole industry was founded upon a fictitious lie. Same thing with sports. All these systems are about to crash because the truth behind them is about to be told. And it all leads. So we had theater, we had technology, we had sports, we had all these things, but they reversed it.
And you can't get mad.
The start of the start of the show, go ahead, was of this picture, Lana. That's what it was. So go ahead. This is how we started. Folks are getting
upset at folks when they're using AI, but it's like you can't get mad at the people using the tool. You got to get mad at the one who tricked you all this time. Don't get mad at the folks that are revealing it to you. Get mad at the folks that tricked you this whole time. And so instead of now we're using this tool, like you said, to tell the story versus using the tool to continuously trick you. and that's where the discernment has to come into play. You know, I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I'm excited of what's to come. We're experiencing right now, Dr. Jason, as you can see, is continuously unraveling the truth so that when you drive and you go places, you can be like, oh my God, that does look like a pyramid. Or when I was driving in Arizona before I even met Dr. Jason in this lifetime, I was telling my mom, I said, when you're driving, take a look at the mountains. And I said, doesn't that look like a giant and they're laying down like this? And she went like this with her head and she said, oh, it does look like, and so then when she started, so we're driving and she starts doing this because no one ever brought that to her attention. So as a 70-year-old woman, she's like tripped out, like these look like, what is it called?
I was watching the movie, a little bit of Troll Part 2 on Netflix, and they were showing how they use bells and ultraviolet light to turn the super giants into stone, and they look like mountains now. And same thing with dragon tails, how some look like a tree root. They have it in San Bernardino or Colton, actually Colton, to where it's like a dragon's tail. And some say it's a tree. So fossilized, because you guys got to remember also that imagine how big and small we were. So if they cut, well, not if they cut down the redwoods, they cut down all these giant trees, they dammed our rivers. So imagine being on a planet where millions of years there's no one chopping down the trees like that, how we would grow in our essence. So some of us, so just like today, there's good and bad. So don't allow us to say all giants who they petrified were bad. It'd be the same thing as us being demonized as well. Right. But I really like where Lana's going as far as mythology. They put the mythos in the mythology, just like they do with the religion in their text. They take the modern day religions from our mythology that are based off of our spiritual systems and cultures and recorded events that did occur on the planet.
So you'll demonize me if I say, Anubis came from the ground up and reconstructed my DNA. Ha ha ha! You're crazy, but you believe Jesus is coming back. Same thing. So again, when you study religion, you'll find that it has a central point. It's the same shit.
And when people study Anubis, Tahuti, Heru, I also hear people saying, "Oh, I am Anubis," but there are a Tahuti, or I'm the only one. No, that's you being contacted, like Empress Anu is saying. El Nana is we all get contacted by, well, not all of us, but basically when you're presented that opportunity to be contacted by a deity that lets you know you're on the path, you can either run away to the church or keep diving into that aspect of Anu, the teachings, the priesthood that's forever, it's infinite, it's knowledge based. When we get into Anubis or Ampu, not just the dog or the Jah or the Jack El, you know, the Joker of El, and learn about how fun the Joker could be, but also the underworld, you know, the wolf, the atomic dog, the atom. The dog in Hebrew, the word dog represents circle, to spin, like the dog chases its tail, like an atom. And so that gets into science on why we name certain animals, that to remind us that we put them in the matrix to do a certain task, also to remind us the purpose of their task, whether it's the Kefra beetle that cleans up the dung beetle. So that cleans up the feces, or the vulture, like I learned in 2006 backpacking and studying under the Zulus. The vulture is the only animal who has the beak to rip open the rhino in a lot of these animals. So then you would have dead carcasses everywhere. So the lion can't rip it open. It takes the vulture to rip it open, and then the lions can come and eat. So that's the circle of life. That means that the creators who created the Matrix hologram animated you and them and certain extraterrestrial beings in the form of these animated animals of El. animals, you know, animal. So we use that, the nature, to teach us, whether it's to grow, whether it's to hold your breath underwater, whether it's to fly or create devices that fly. That's why their military aircraft are named after indigenous tribes and hawks, Thunder Hawk, because when they saw our Thunder Hawks, those are spacecrafts. Thunder Hawk, a hawk that made thunder, is a spaceship. So that's what our ancestors are describing.
I love my
I
ancestors.
have a book called Ancient Aliens of the America that describes Wakanda. Wakanda is a real thing. So that meant that that was a clue. That's why they had to kill Chad Bosen, because that attempts to kill the idea of the Black Panther, which is you as the big cat, the jaguar people. You are those people. You are the jaguar. And that's where you're a jaguar, right? Regardless of indifference, it represents the truth outside of the, you know, those who have also been tainted, like she admits she had been tainted, but it's still love of the jaguar within, the jaguar people coming to life. You have to be authentic to be able to shapeshift and be a shaman. So the shamans were eating magic mushrooms, psychedelics, plant medicine, Madu plants, so planets. So in order to get even higher frequencies, we would eat psychedelic plants. This is why they demonize these things in religion. And then you'll hear, oh, people I won't deal with certain people if I know they haven't eaten psilocybin and certain things are falling flat on their face or testing. But you've been drunk multiple times, but don't do mushrooms. Get out of here. So that gets into psychedelic, but even look to the right of Queen Califia, we see the sun disk behind her. Once again, the original being who had the sun disk was the Muur, the mother of Maya, the creator of Maya, the infinite cell, like we learned again with Henrietta Lacks, the Moorish woman, Empress El Anu, the so-called Black woman's genes are infinite. She is the first teacher of the Christ. So how are you going to worship a man when the first teacher of a man is a womb man? The woo.
Woo, woo, woo.
You feel me?
Woo, woo.
So we come through the portal of the vagina in this matrix hologram. So the question would be, where does the woman, the womb man, come from? She is beyond an extraterrestrial. That's why we have to preserve the woman's story, because Empress Al-Anu will tell the story of I. And so when they give you Yeshua, Jesus, all these stories of people, whether it's mythology or historical, you'll always see a sister. Whether it's Mary Magdalene, Mary is Maya, Mary is Moor, Mary, Ta, Mary. Once again, a code. So when they say that Jesus Christ or Yeshua's companion or his student or teacher, he was the student. That would mean Yeshua and Jesus, Mary Magdalene, who they try to make a whore or a sacred whore, was actually the teacher. She was an Eastern Star, a Moabite, a Muur, a Muur. And so once again, that's health science. That's a whole nother dimension that our mothers come from, that the troglodyte, Neanderthal, Caucasian, Anglo-Saxons mothers do not come from. So that means that our lineage, our bloodline, the bloodline of our mothers, her DNA is what we would call the oldest story on the planet. And every so-called Moorish woman is born with their grandmother's DNA, their mother's DNA, along with their father. So she has the DNA bank that she can tap into every day standing under the sun and the moon. That's why they do their magic tricks under the moon. And the word moon and sin cycle, the moon cycle, Babylon. So they use these words to, like Empress was saying, to frighten you and scare you from studying your true education system, which is your culture in the form, what they say, curriculum, a mispronunciation again for culture, you know? And so hold on 1 second, see. So with this, we have a culture that we see through the Moorish woman. So even within the Mary Magdalene story, with the word Mary, whether it's M-A-R-Y, and we know that vowels are interchangeable. So when we say M-E-R-I, and then a Mary, or ta Mary, that's America. So right there in the etymology of Mary Magdalene, Mary the Mayan, so Mary, Ta Mary, she holds the information, and Ta Mary is what? El Kemet. The people of El Kemet, which today is Kemet or Cham or Cam, are in the Bible descendants of Ham. And so therefore, even in your Bible, when they talk about Ham, that's Cam and Kemites, a people, an education system based on a matriarchal society that also put her sons in place to rule in the physical realm as well, because our mothers have a connection to nature more than us as so-called man, because we're not the womb man. They call it the botch underneath your rectum or your ball sack. That line that connects to your anus or anus to your rectum, that's your closed vagina, men. So when you see, I remember as a kid, I used to be like, what is this? It's like a scar, like you had surgery. You have a closed vagina. And so the woman is able to exercise all these things. And that's why I say she created us also in her image. Our mothers created us, and then for protection and for us to experience this realm as well, and for her to experience this dimension through her son. And that's when we learn about the son as Ra or Amen, and the son of God as Sa-Ra. And so when we hear the word son of God, that's Sa-Ra. They got that from us. They stole it though. So once we learn how to operate these spellings, these words, it's magic, science. We are alchemists, turning lead to gold, things that they say only Jesus or Yeshua. Well, where did Jesus learn? Where did Yeshua learn? Tahuti, all of our ancient mystery schools of Egypt are El Kemet. So that meant that Mary is Ta Mary. So when in the Bible they tell you that Yeshua or Jesus, like all of the gods of Yahweh's prophets, went to El Kemet or Egypt, whether it was in Mesoamerica or in Africa, it's Ta Mary, Mary, the woman. And so the story of Yeshua and Jesus would be a young Moor going into the education system of the university and the mystery schools of El Kemet, which we call Egypt today. And this is where Yeshua, Jesus, learned his mystery school technology to heal, which we call Reiki healing or Raka. Using your Ra, using your son's energy with your hands, voice, and tones to heal the Ka, the Ba, with your breath. These are the sciences as Muurs and Moors that we practice, that they don't teach you in their schools, that they want you to operate less than them. So they're not going to give you a religion that allows you to operate on a higher level. This is why you have to study the Ka and the Ba of Allah, the body of Allah, Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is your body. That's the study. The Ka is K-A, the Ba is your body. Ka is the breath of life. So when they say that God gave the breath of life to the humans, like Frankenstein, are giving them the breath of life of knowledge to awaken one's mind from mental deadness, we now use tones, frequencies, and the power of Ra Today they call God to awaken the minds of our people, and we had structures, not just structure in the metaphysical of ants and plants. You see structure in nature, but we also build structures like things in nature. The squirrel, the rabbit, the hawk, these entities and animals build structures, and they have a structure. And so our structures always had purpose, not fiscal purposes to make money, but dedicated to the sun, the moon, certain stars, certain planets, the body, because your body and mind is the solar system. You are a solar being. You are the solar boat of Ra. You are a Muur as you travel through the abyss, the infinite ocean of the cosmos. As an infinite being, this is your gift. This is your present. As a time traveler, to travel back in time of your infinite ancestors. This is why it's imperative to talk to our mothers and try to free them, because as long as the majority of Moorish women believe they're black, worshiping Jesus as their Lord and Savior, that nation is doomed for failure. So they say God is good all the time, but black people are failures. They're failures. Black people are the most miseducated. Black people are the most of their men locked up. Black people have accepted the black woman has accepted homosexuality. The black woman has accepted a so-called European man as their God and teaches her son to worship a white man, while he terrorizes her son, locks us up, tries to miseducate us so we don't become doctors, assassinates us. And then you worship a white man who supposedly got assassinated. But if that turned to Yahshua, Yamasi, Indian, and you learned that the Yahweh are a tribe, what they say Judah or Yuda or Yoda in the tribe of Jesus is Moors, as you as a black man and you have the bloodline of Jesus, that's a different story now. Because that means that you are descendant of God Almighty by birthright and by blood. I am a descendant of the Father and the Mother, of the trees, the moon, the stars, and the mountains, the pyramid structures, my body, my humble abode, my temple of Ra. Intelligent design, and proof of it through my body is evidence of an intelligent creator or creatress. And that's what our body represents. That's how you don't need the Bible or the Quran. It's your body and the Ka, the breath of life, that I'm able to operate in this dimension. That lets you know who we are as immortal, infinite beings. Go ahead.
Oh no, you was getting it in. It's like, yes, we need to pass around the offering basket.
My bad, go ahead.
No, I don't even know where to pick up after that, but the body is that's the biggest to me. That's what was shown to me. I forgot what I was going to say, but there was something you had mentioned and I had a thought. It had to do with one of my experiences. I'll try to remember it.
So Anubis. So when we say Ampu, this is why you hear with Anu or Empress El Anu. Anubis deals with the body, the mind, the cadaver, the Moors, the Moors. If you watch the show on Stars, American Gods, Anubis played a brother, a Moor, so-called black man. And he was what? He was in the morgue, a Moor, the Moor. You get it? Morgue. So the Moors dealt with cadavers, anatomy, physiology. When we taught the so-called troglodytes or the Slavics, the cave people, we would lay dead bodies. This is why they still to this day dig up our graves. They come and steal our mummies and grave sites because they got to study you. Just like
because right after all that happened, I didn't want to eat meat anymore. And folks were like, oh, I remember when I went vegan or vegetarian, I was like, I don't know what vegan or vegetarian is. I just know I'm not eating red meat anymore and I don't want it. Like, didn't matter if you made it and whipped it up, I'd start crying. I literally I think you were witness to that.
Yes, because
Well,
go ahead.
no, it was, I don't think, I think it took about a year and a half after that experience before we met. And I didn't know who Anubis was. It wasn't until I went to your home and I went and you showed me like it's like a museum over there, by the way. All Egyptian, yeah, Anubis. What's up, Anubis? Gratitude. So yes, Anubis, the statue was in your room and I just literally like freaked out. I was like, oh my God, who is that? And you started telling me who it was. And it's like, yeah, that's who came to visit me. And there's been so many more experiences that have happened prior to that and after that. But I didn't want to eat meat anymore. It wasn't a fad. And to this day, I don't want it. I have no desire for it. And just the other day, I made a salad. And I was like, okay, I'll put some eggs in there because I haven't eaten eggs in a long time. But I boiled some eggs and then I cut it and I just like started feeling like I wanted to vomit. All I could think about was the birds. So it's just, I'm thankful because yes, my ancestors came to reconstruct my DNA. And
that's
it's
what
a real thing.
And that's what Anubis is, y'all. The priesthood. And when we say priesthood, it's simply professors. The priesthood of the professors. We run the show. We're the most intelligent. We're the ones who deserve to hold it, the sacred information, because people use it for wickedness. And you see what they did when they stole some of our ancient texts. You know, look how people are under control of a book spell.
Yeah.
You know, learning to speak these tones of ik ak arun ik an u yar ang un tuk ak amun. So when we say anpu an pu a punt, study punt. That's why they say the punt of football. So when you punt the football, it's really directing your mind to punt. P-U-N-T.
And that's mainly too, because when I study anatomy.
Right. Punt and punt is the name of an ancient civilization. So type in and learn about punt and punt. And as I pass it to Empress, it's also yoga. Learning that when we build structures, and these small edifices are always with purpose. And so when we see the jackal, when we see Anpu, not only would people say that these beings existed, but we're talking about us, you having the head of these totems and deities. So here, as the Moors and Martians in the morgue, Empress is lined up perfectly because she's dealing with the human body, which the temple of Anu and the priestesses of Anu dealt with. So go ahead.
When you start, it's mesmerizing. Interesting.
Looks like a computer.
On the brain. Yeah. Left,
you know,
the corpus callosum is.
And let me show y'all. That's why I tell people to keep their books. Let me show y'all how long I've had this book.
Cerebellum, corpus callosum.
It says Notre Dame High School, baby. Titan. You know, we're the Notre Dame Titans. So I've had this book since high school, still studying. So when Empress Anu speaks of things, I could go look it up, and it's just really amazing. You know, it truly is. So I'm listening. But yeah, it speaks of what she's saying. The DNA, the mind, the pillar of Osiris, like we were showing you earlier, how we built structures of the brain, the spine, going down chambers of columns of initiation degrees.
So that's what I was going to remember. So the reason why, when you're using those tones that you were using, the reason what happens is because right now we're using the lowest vibrating language. It doesn't, it's like the body's their organs. So there's certain rhythms that even when the blood's traveling through, through the heart, when it's traveling through the body within itself, it's making vibrations. So when we speak our original language, or even when you were talking about yoga, because they demonized yoga also, but when we use the right language, the vibrations, and then when we add that with yoga or doing certain stretches and movements, it opens up certain chambers, and it allows Empress, it allows
you were saying yoga. What do they call the yoga pose? The dog stretch. You see how the dog stretches? The Anubis stretch. Have you ever seen your dog stretch when it gets up?
Oh yeah, downward dog.
Yeah,
downward
that's what we're showing you, what she's talking about. Because in ancient Kemet, we practice what? Kemetic yoga, breath technique, what you now call not Taoism, Tai Chi, Tahuti, Chi, Ki. So go ahead.
Well, my ancestors showed me that I needed to start incorporating yoga more into my exercises. So me and my little goddess will go do yoga and a little bit of Pilates, a couple of days out the week. But even when you're in there doing it, it's so bizarre because it's literally very relaxing. You do feel more in tune with your body, and it's just overall really good stretching. But I know someone had told me that they were really scared of yoga, and I asked them why, and they're like, oh no, I'm not messing with opening up certain parts of my body. And I'm like, huh? Your body is calcified, so if it's not open, then that's why you can't grasp any information. That's why 85% of people are asleep and they can't grasp it, because their body is calcified. And so we do, systems that control. Go ahead, look, perfectly what you're saying. That's inside of us, y'all. Exactly what she's saying. We're a network, an intelligent network. So psilocybin, magic mushrooms, the funky fungus that connects your brains. It's been proven to heal brain chambers, synapses, receptors, regrow them, which makes you more intelligent. That's why they're called mushroom. That's part of our livet of nutrients. Imagine those nerves that you showed, right? We have hundreds of those in our body, right? So when we eat certain foods, of course, because they know this, so we eat certain foods, they literally have they're little bugs. I'm just gonna say, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible, but they're like little bugs that are in the food. So when you consume it, those bugs literally latch onto your nervous system, and then they reconstruct it. If they reconstruct it like an electrician. Electrician knows how to use those wires, and they can take the red wire, the yellow wire, and the black wire, and they can just mix it around to where now your lights don't come on properly, or they flicker. It's the same exact thing that happens in our body when we eat processed foods, and when we eat meat that takes about 7 days to break down in the body. Don't get me started. But our small intestines are the ones that secrete out the nutrients and the vitamins that we take in. So if we're taking in food that doesn't have any nutrients or vitamins, then essentially we're leaving our large intestine, we're leaving it for it to break down, and it doesn't know what to do with it. So it winds up getting stored into the kidneys. And that's how we wind up getting all these diseases. So we have to work on getting light so that we can grasp this information. Like you were showing, the nerves, even the nerves, those are what send us the information back and forth throughout the body. So what you looking for?
Exactly. So we are those beings, electrical beings, and great breakdown of the human body, the mind. That's what our culture is in El Kemet. Where they say Mesoamerica, Mesopotamia, they always say Meso, Mesopotamia, Mesoamerica. Same people, the people of Mesoamerica and Mesopotamia and El Kemet, Fiji, every landmass is us as Muurs and Moors. So that's why we just focus on our culture. It's infinite. Just like Empress El Anu shows, each of us have so many gifts to bring to the planet beyond the table. So we were ending it with this right here. The oldest living survivor of the Tulsa race war. So once again, the woman, the lineage, the knowledge, the storytellers, Mary Magdalene, Mayat, May's son of Maya, Mayatin, education system, worldwide, intergalactic. Nothing new under Ra. They say son because they don't want you, like Lana was saying, to know your language. Because the moment you speak your indigenous tones, it unlocks the infinite information stored in your DNA that is not in their DNA. We are a different people than them. We have a connection with the sun that no one else has. So they either love us or they're jealous of us. And they murder the true gods and their prophets, which is us, every time. But there's punishment coming, which they know of the spaceships, the Crystal City. The Crystal Cities are the motherships that are here and will appear. This is our time to prepare for departure. First, you have to prepare what? Your mind, your body, soul, and spirit to elevate. Like when you get on Delta Airlines and they say if there's an emergency, you must first put on your mask. You have to wake up first. No one can get you into the higher realms. Your friend, your mom, the preacher damn sure ain't. He needs your money. That's the difference between I and these black pastors. I'm not a pastor. I don't need your money. Them niggas was former pimps, like, oh, give me money. Pass the collection plate. and look at the black community. There is no community. There is no community. That's why Donald Trump tells you that the black community is a failure, because it is. It's a failure. By design. Out of 170 million men in the United States, only 1,000 black men had their EDD. Only 1,000 to 1,600 black men in the United States out of 170 million have a doctorate in education. That's less than 1%. That's a failure. Black people want to be entertainers. I've been to Hollywood. I mastered Hollywood. I didn't sell my soul to the devil because I didn't need to. Now you see the Diddy stuff. All the P. Diddy. I've been telling people for years. Oh, Jason's crazy. He has I mean, you never had talent. You didn't have enough talent to make it to the level of Hollywood that I did. You're not handsome enough. You're not qualified to touch the levels of Hollywood that I touched. To have the option to turn down millions of dollars or fortune and fame that you think. And now look at us, doctors of education. This is the place to be. Knowledge. That's the wealth. And we practice on our land. And that's the wealth we build to what you call Ra, or today they call it God. Nothing built for selfish gain. And the ancestors and the sun, the moon, the stars will reciprocate that energy as the wealthiest people on the planet. And everyone else will want to come to your land because they won't want to be in those cities soon. The cities are going to be ran by robots. I promise you, you're going to have a microchip. You're going to have a microchip and a digital ID on your body in certain cities soon. There won't be teachers in the flesh. They're going to be taught by robots. This is your time right now to escape the Matrix hologram. July, August, September, October, November, October 25th, Jason's born. And then you got there Jesus born December 25th. That's not a coincidence. So you're going to have to choose what it is. That's why they don't want the world to hear Jason's tones and voice, because it gives you an option to say, well, shit, Dr. Williams said, and he's a doctor and he has proof, versus the evidence of failure in the Black community. So whatever God Black people are serving is not good to you. If your God was good to you, you would not be in poverty as a people. You would not all be in jail. Single mothers, homosexuality, all throughout your community. Looking up to Puff Daddy. That's what Black people want to do. They want to entertain other people, make other people rich. Instead of being themselves, there's discipline in being a doctor. There's discipline in being a god, a superhero. When they become superheroes, they destroy shit. That's why they didn't want you to watch Meteor Man. So what are you going to do with your superpowers this time? You got to build, innovate. And that's who we are. Anything else is uncivilized. So the time is up. I'm here. It's over. So there's going to be those brothers and sisters who continue to, Jason, that's what you would call the Black devils, trying to convince you not to listen to the real professors. They want you to listen to the honorary doctors in Hollywood. They want you to listen to Cat Williams. Cat Williams says something, the whole world went crazy. This is a comedian.
A comedian. Symbolic.
Excuse me, much love. I met the brother, former pimp. And it's not to say that brothers cannot redeem themselves when I said that, because Boy George, not the singer, from Chicago in the movie American Pimp, I said some years ago, and he actually hit me up. He was like, yo, I feel you, Jason, and I'm a big fan of yours, so it hurt me when you said that. And big time, look him up, Boy George, big time pimp, or Baby George, but one of those. But long story short, he said he redeemed himself. Same thing like Brother Crip Jesus and these brothers. Malcolm X, he was in and out of prison. So we create these institutions so brothers don't have to go to jail, in prison, to get the information, to where you don't have to be tortured by a racist teacher every day. And if you're talented and gifted, they'll try to destroy your life as a kid by putting you on Ritalin, label you ADHD. So we need teachers like Lana. The woman, Lana is going to be an example of someone who experienced what it's like to teach a student in homeschool. Because we're going to need more sisters who can teach on different levels outside of what we were taught in their education system. Because clearly it's a failure. But our culture, which they define their education system, is not a failure. That's why it's imperative everyone needs to go to college and university if you are into that. You can do both. You can learn outside of the colleges and you can go in. The spook that sat by the door, we have to have our people in every facet of society forever until we're all free. But being an example of what is possible because it's done. And so right here, California, the Chi land of us, XI, Old Mecca, descendants of the Mu and the earth, Sumer, Samer, Sa-Neter, we are those people. So therefore, this is Indian land, this is Moorish land. It's ours. We own it. And there has to be restitution, and they say reparation, but restoration. Just like the Native Americans get. But we have the land, and let them have their land. We're not saying we want the casino's land. We're innovative people. Anything that we create is the flyest. So everyone's going to copy us anyways. No one's going to want the watered down version of our old culture. Just like hip hop, we got to create something new. Same thing with all these religions, spiritual systems, holidays, days, months. That's all fake. We need to create certain days where you work these days for your self. Like, we're gonna plan different calendars or use ancient ones and get off the Gregorian calendar. You know, all these beautiful things as we
yes, that part.
So do you want to close it out with us? Something last?
No, I don't have anything else to say. I think I'm all set out.
And you already saw it. So there it goes. We broke down the Native Americans, the Indian schools, the erasure of Moorish culture, Muurs, Muur, Sumer. And we gave you real evidence to free yourselves and solutions. And as always, we'll leave you with a video and let them know where they can find you.
So you can find me at Lana's_elixir on IG, or you can find me at lana.v.richardson on Facebook as well as on IG. Pretty soon, Lana's Elixir will be coming, so stay tuned. I've got some of the product in, so I'm excited. Again, I'm just wanting to make sure I can throw something on the market and just try to take your money. Or if you have questions about what you're consuming, I'd like to be able to give you an educated answer that makes sense based off of our culture and our body type, not based off of other cultures and their body types. Because again, everybody's different. We have zillions of species out here, hundreds of species, and everybody's not made the same. So I'm just listening to the ancestors guide me along with, you know, getting certifications so that I can actually help our people. Because pretty soon, I don't know if y'all paid attention or not, there is not going to be very affordable health care. And so we're going to have to know how to stop relying on practitioners to guide us through how to fix ourselves. We're going to have to rely on self. You know what I mean? And your ancestors, they're waiting on you. They're asking for, hey, they're here. They're like, yo, we're here. We're just waiting on you to call on us. So if you are wondering how these, you know, experiences are happening for people like me and Jason and Crip Jesus and other guests that have been on the show, it's just mainly because some of us, I know personally, I asked for this as a kid. I remember asking my ancestors to guide me. And discernment is the big word we're going to use for today. How to get discernment? You got to learn how to listen to the voices of your ancestors and know which ones of those voices that are talking to you. You got to listen to it. And you listen to it. I tell this to my daughter all the time, and they're not going to teach you this in school, but she'll tell me something like, darn it, I knew I shouldn't have done XYZ. I knew it. And I said, how do you know? She's like, I just had a feeling. And I said, that feeling that you have, or that voice that you hear, because sometimes we can hear that voice talk to us just like I'm talking to you. When you hear it, learn to listen to it and then watch what happens afterwards. You know what I mean? Like, let's say I remember when I was 16 or 15 and I was learning how to drive, and I'll make it quick. I was learning how to drive and I was at church with my parents. At the time, my brother was old enough. He had his own car and he knew how to drive. So I remember after church was over, I heard a voice say, just like I'm talking to you. It said, go with your parents. No, I'm sorry. It said, go with your brother. So as I'm walking out the church, I remember saying, nah, but I want to drive. So I asked my dad, can I get the keys to drive? He said, I don't care. So I got the keys. We're on our way. We're going home. And as I'm driving down the road, this is in Fontana, coming back from Loveland. Okay. And I'm driving down this road, and there's this in Fontana, it's more of a rural area. It was more rural during this time. So there weren't that many houses built. So you'll be driving down this road and there might be like a two-way street with a stop sign, right? So the people that are at the stop sign have to obviously wait for you to go. And the speed limit's like 55, 60. Do you know this man just literally pops right in front of me, doesn't even stop at the stop sign, wind up getting into a car accident. And I was like, dang it, I should have listened to that voice that told me to go with my brother. So the moral of the story is, those are your ancestors. They're warning you. Ancestors, higher self, most high, God, whatever you...
You muted yourself.
Oh. So yeah, learn to listen to that voice. Learn discernment. It's not too late to start now. I suggest you do it quickly.
And I wanted to show when she was talking about pyramids and stuff, and both of us, when we were linking up the area of Riverside County, California, San Bernardino. I played this back in the day, but we showed you Mission Inn, castles. We also want to show you some Hemet pyramids. So I'm going to show you the Hemet pyramids, and then we'll also show you again Empress Al Anu's AI video, and she has those juices coming as well. So check this out, and then I'll let her close it again, because you guys got to see this.
On two different videos, I've showed you mounds of rubble surrounding Hemet, California. And I got a lot of the geology theory. Okay, well, now it's not mounds of rubble, it's pyramids. So I want to see your geology theory about pyramids in Hemet, California. So let's take another ride in Hemet. Let's go. All right, I'm just off of State Street in Hemet, and right there ahead of me is a pyramid. 3 distinct ridges going down the sides. Might be covered up by a couple feet of rubble, but definitely a pyramid. Okay, I'm just off a Hemet golf course here, off of Devonshire and California Road, and directly ahead of me is a pyramid. This is one of the most obvious ones in Hemet. And each one of these that I'm going to show you, I'm also going to include a picture with the lines running down the sides showing the ridges and showing it's a 3-sided pyramid. Now again, just off of State Street, the one at the top there. Now I'm saying the one at the top, but it looks like there might be several ones. But definitely has 3 sides and definitely has ridges, which I'm going to mark them on a picture. This is a little closer view of the one we just took. The one at the top is the one I was pointing out on the last take. Now here there's one on the left and a little lower, and I can see the three ridges clearly that make up the pyramid. And at the bottom of the pyramid there's a house. It looks like a 2 or 3 story house, so you can see how big these things really are. Now there's mounds everywhere in Hemet, and I call them mounds of rubble, but there's also a such thing of mound pyramids, and if you believe in them, then Hemet is just littered with them. There's a couple pictures I took out near Winchester, or in Winchester. I'm going to blow those pictures up and outline them as well. I don't think I did any narration on them. But here's the pyramids, and you know what to do with your geology theory now. These were not made up of sediments and shifting stones or lava remains. I'm Truman from The Truman Show, the real life Truman. Thanks for watching.
I concur.
In Hemet, remember guys, CHAM or KHAM, KHAM, KHEM. So if you take off the C, Ham, you see how they play? So Hamites, Khemites, dark-skinned people of this land who were here before the flood, before the genocide, right here in Riverside County, San Bernardino. This is our land by birthright, and we are entitled to the wealth of the land, the waters, the riches, the treasures, and we're owed compensation for those who have utilized the land to build their wealth. So we need our land, not reservations, because that's a disrespectful term, but we'll use our reservation in the city of Colton, California now. Colton, California, will be having our so-called Indigenous, Native American, all Native American tribes, all welcome. Like we said, if you're about love, it shouldn't bother you that we are coming into our antiquity. We're not telling you to stop your culture, what we gave you or what you have, but we're saying we just want ours. So why is it a problem? It shouldn't be a problem that people want equity and wealth for their own people unless you're racist and in cahoots with those powers that be. So it's all about liberation for all people, but first starting with us to liberate ourselves. So when you see Hemet and Kemet, and Lana, what were you saying with the static electricity out there?
There's no electricity. I mean, not electricity. There's no phone reception in Hemet. It's really bad phone reception. So I don't know if that's because of all of the pyramids that are structured around there and they just can't, or I don't know. But it's just the worst reception in Hemet. So, but those pyramids, you can see them. I'm in Canyon Lake. So Menifee, Paris, Winchester, Temecula, Hemet, they're everywhere. When you drive out here, I think I told you there's one when I drive, I can't remember the name of that street now, off the top of my head. I want to say Marietta Hot Springs or Clinton Keith Road. If you go to Clinton Keith Road, there's a pyramid, you can't miss it. And you can see the road kind of like it circles around to go to the top. And then it has like all this, what is it called? Satellites and stuff on there. And you're like, what is that? But yeah, one of those things that's in plain sight right in front of us, and we don't ask questions. Just kind of, go to work, go home, go to school, go home, and then repeat. And stay under that spell while they take everything from us right before our eyes.
Wow.
That's real gangster.
It's a sleep spell.
Mm-hmm.
Waking up with being misdirected and misguided on what your day and night is supposed to be directed towards, which is your culture, which is immortality, infinity, instead of mundane material things and directions and things to do that cannot take you to the afterlife. That's why they call it afterlife.
Yeah.
Afterlife, because you're dead.
Okay,
you're going to the living world. That's why our cultures were so, they say, obsessed with the dead. No, homie, we were obsessed with living. We never die. So if you're telling us we are obsessed with death and we could take these things, you can't take these things because they're stuck here.
Yeah.
So they have to trap you mentally here for you to forget and think that you died, that you're 44, 42, all these ages and all these bullshit through time and space and months and days. So exactly like you said, utilizing our days, and like this said, with Colton, California and other cities, this podcast is cultural restoration, cultural preservation. As a doctor, we're able to preserve our culture now through these mediums such as the laptop and computers, and we're going to do it with the AI as we close it out with Empress El-Anu.
Class, today we're taking a stylish little tour through the gut because chemistry and anatomy make an irresistible pair. These two winding powerhouses right here, the small intestine and the large intestine, decide what your body keeps and what it lets go. Your small intestine, about 20 feet of velvety tubing, breaks food. Class, today the star of the show is this, Takis. Spicy, crunchy, and absolutely loaded with red dye and saturated fat. When those roll through your system, they don't just party on your tongue. They slide into the small intestine and leave a residue of oil, dye, and fat. Veggies are more than just colorful snacks. This orange, for example, is a bundle of water, natural sugars, vitamins, and fiber. After you chew and swallow, enzymes in the stomach get the breakdown started. Then the party moves right here.
I am rewriting your DNA. You will never see the world the same again.
I can't breathe. I didn't ask for this. Anubis, why
Your
me?
grief seals the covenant. Rise, daughter of the jackal.
The hour is upon you.
I just...
Out. Time to finish this. Come on then. Back to the void. No ghost haunts my kingdom.
Looks incredible. I can't. I don't like it anymore. I don't like meat anymore. Oh my god.
This mango tastes like sunlight after rain. The forest feeds its warriors well. Crunchy and sweet. These colors belong to kings and queens.
Got you, son.
Yo, what's up? It's Jason, the God MC, better known as Elm Street. We out here in Africa, plain old Egypt, about to open the stargates. You already know everything is atoms, photons, neurons, electrons. So we're gonna turn around right here, and we're gonna show you the Great Pyramid. That's the Great Pyramid. I'm the Great Pyramid. You're the Great Pyramid. We're living it up. Shout out to Toronto, US, Africa, Brazil.
Jane Street finest, man. Jane Street County Collection, Toronto. Out here, banging against the system. Hey, see that?
Tough. You know?
You gotta do one of those.
And so to close it out, you just saw me in El Kemet. So imagine the pyramids that were blown up, or the tops knocked off, or their step pyramids. They're simply covered up by rubble. Free yourself, free your mind. I am Dr. Jason E. Williams, Doctor of Education, EDD. Thanks for tuning in to What is the Matrix TV. And we'll close it out with our new virtual reality world. If you have headsets, or if you need virtual reality headsets, hit me up. We get the MetaQuest headset pros at a discount rate. Whether it's $500, $600, $700, $800, let me know. I can get you the MetaQuest headset pros, depending on how many you order, the price. But starting at $700 to you, to $600 to $500. But long story short, here's our VR world. So if you download VR chat on your MetaQuest headsets, you can go into this world. Just type in the Matrix University or type in Dr. Jason. And these are one of the worlds, like video games, where you can immerse yourself in an Olmec culture, where you can see pyramids. You can come and relax with real sounds from nature. You can have concerts inside of our virtual reality world. Empress El Anu will be giving lessons in the Matrix University outside of the VR chat. There's so many great options, but this world I'm going to show you real quick. You can have concerts, lectures, and all your followers and students have to do is say, okay, meet me 6 p.m. in MetaQuest, and you can listen to Empress El Anu walk you around the jungle. She could show you her new videos, all inside of this world. So here's an example. Peace and love. Welcome to the Matrix University. We got one of the greatest artists in VR chat right now, brother MC Moses 369. Let them know about yourself.
What's going on, Dr. Jason? You know what time it is, man. Hey, I'm MC Moses 369, the biggest truth to do it. Real conscious artist of the metaverse, man. Hey, the first of its kind. Y'all come in. We in the Matrix University.
Yeah, take them through. I'm gonna follow you, man. Let's take them to the temple. You know.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
So let them know what's going on in the VR chat world, man. Let them know how this is the new Facebook, Instagram, and how, you know, it's important to be up in here with this new frontier technology.
Yeah, man, it's the beginning of it. The technology is a very expansion. It's growing every day, you know what I'm saying? And it's only getting better and bigger by the day, you know what I mean? It's kind of small right now, but it's early on. And the people that's getting into it right now are at the beginning of the frontier. So it's an amazing place to be, bro, for networking and connections, bro. And just to expand your artistry and creation in general, man. You can make money here. All type of events are able to be hosted, bro. You know, it's an amazing place for everything, bro.
Yes, sir. Moses 369, the Matrix University. Let's get it. Freestyle sessions.
What's going on, man? Shout out Dr. Jason. You know what I'm saying? We in the Matrix University. Y'all already know. Y'all come pull up on us. You feel me? This the place to be in, the space to see. Y'all already know. You know what I'm saying? Real conscious artistry. I got a little something for y'all. Let me see. Hey, this the type of shit that we get licked to. If they spin for us, we spin around, come back and get through. Fuck around and feel like you this too. I'm out here making big moves. You fuck around, get hit when you come listen to these sick tunes. I'm like a slick goon. High move ain't nothing like the other. This ain't no pan, but I'm really slicker than some butter. Come from the gutter, but
Welcome to the world-famous King Tut Museum. Be sure to respect the ancient relics. The ancient Egyptians were a magical people who built numerous beautiful, magnificent structures, like the world-famous pyramids and temples. No running inside. Scientists till this very day still do not know how the Egyptians built the pyramids.
I wonder, did aliens ever visit ancient Egypt?
Wow, look at that giant Egyptian statue. It looks just like you, Jason.
Thanks, Toby. You're a super cool friend. Imagine what the world would look like if I was the pharaoh.
Jason, you are daydreaming. Wake up.
Sorry, history got away from me.